Please stand for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And let's see, roll call by the clerk.
Maloney,
Here?
Ermeling,
Here.
Feeny,
Here.
Minell,
Here.
White,
Here.
John,
Here.
Sagani.
Here. Full house. And just quickly want to just introduce John Kuznick, captain with the police department. Clay's on vacation, PTO, and I'd like to introduce our new fire chief for the Safer, Josh Finke.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Josh. Yep, well deserved.
Village staff has to change his nameplate.
Yep, I saw that. We don't have it in the budget this year, so we'll track it next year. And, anyway, so you can get that as dirty as you want. But, let's, moving on to public comments. The first one we have is, Mr. Steve Frohl, NCAP Army Corps. Greater West area, AmeriCorps, yep, that does sound better. Steve, you're at the podium. Why don't you introduce yourself and go ahead.
Okay, hello everyone, thank you. My name is Steve Frodel. I work with NCCAP AmeriCorps team, Greater Wassa area. I'm not certain who all is familiar with AmeriCorps in this group.
Well, I couldn't pronounce it, so.
Corps like
Yeah.
Marine Corps and Peace Corps. What we are is federal dollars coming back into our local community to address local concerns, local problems then we address and hopefully cure these problems with matching local resources. In other words, your federal tax dollars going out to DC, coming back into Wisconsin through Serve Wisconsin. That's the state and national board. Our program, state and national, is about direct service. So we are in direct contact with the clients that we serve. Our focus is education, and we are mentors and tutors in the school districts, helping the parapros and the teachers promote education and ensure learning. It happens to be AmeriCorps week. Well, actually last week it was, but I make an effort to go out to city councils and village administrators and just talk about AmeriCorps and see if there are any questions. We use these federal resources with government entities, including parks departments, certainly school districts, and also 501c3s. Here's a statement about AmeriCorps that I just pulled off the line. I'll give you our brochure. It's a little bit outdated because things are moving quickly now, and some of the benefits that the members receive are going up a little bit. So that's good, and that's the AmeriCorps side of the equation that's increasing. We are currently hiring for spring and summer. The Parks Department and the school district and the Wassomong Association as well. Just some great ideas in building capacity. During AmeriCorps Week, we recognize the commitment of the millions of Americans who have chosen to serve their country through AmeriCorps and AmeriCorps seniors and others to follow in their footsteps of service. AmeriCorps engages 250,000 Americans each year in sustained, results-driven service through our AmeriCorps and AmeriCorps Seniors programs. These dedicated seniors help communities manage COVID-19 response, ensure students stay on track to graduate, combat hunger and homelessness, respond to natural disasters, fight the opioid epidemic, help seniors live independently, support veterans and military families, and much more. So again, I call them entry-level professionals. Many of them are college kids coming back home for the summer. Then we've got a full year program, entry-level professionals, some people in midlife kind of changing careers. And what really works well is when retired teachers come back out. There's a modest living allowance and an educational award provided as benefits to the members. There's also like health insurance for the full-time members. I think we do good stuff. I've been doing it a while. I've been connected with this community out, in Wausau and in DC Everest through different opportunities that I've had in my life to work with underserved populations, the disadvantaged youth population. And I think that it, takes a community. It's a little bit kind of cliche, I guess, but it does take one individual to change the life of another. And I think that that's what we do. I'd be happy to address any questions or comments or concerns.
I have two questions. Number one is, obviously I'm a big supporter of the AmeriCorps, but can you give us an example of a local success story, preferably in Weston? If we do with any of the organizations that we worked with.
Or DCFers.
Or these efforts.
Okay, I'll be honest, I know it's preferably the DCFers. I know that there are DCFers seniors who are signing up and serving, in particular with the summer program, which happens to be with the Wausau School District. So I could name some names. Okay, here's a success story. There's an educator in the Wausau School District who lives that way off of North Phillips Road and then in the community to the right. And she has two daughters who have served. And there's a community garden out there owned by Mr. and Mrs. Harris. And we take up a plot out there, and she said, oh, I need some hours. And last year, 2 years ago, it was hard because we had COVID-19 alternative activities. And so we had to come up with a bunch of alternative activities to get our ideas or to get our hours, such as Little Red Schoolhouses and cards to the assisted living people. So back to the success story in the DC Everest and the mom and the daughter who helped chip in at the garden. And she's serving again this year. And she said in particular, I want to be more involved in the garden. Another DC Everest student who has applied this year, I want to take on more leadership opportunities. And because we work as a team, I'm like, oh, no problem. Just have her lead the Global Youth Service Day activity, for example, where we kind of do some litter sweeps. Did that answer?
It does. I have one more question here. So can you give us a potential example of how the Village of Weston can partner with AmeriCorps? Because obviously everybody, you mentioned a lot of work with the Parks Department, 501c3s, but just throw out some potential ideas.
Now I'm going to put on my bigger AmeriCorps hat for this one. NCCAP AmeriCorps is focused on education, mentoring, and tutoring, and that includes the adult population. And then once we get our performance measures hit, we can expand beyond that. So we are at Open Door, for example, and McLit in Wausau, working with adults who are just coming out of incarceration. So we do work with them, but there are children in their lives as well. So on a bigger scale, Parks Department, there are different focus areas with AmeriCorps. Ours is education. Marshfield Clinic has a health focus. And then there are some that are environmental in focus. So years back, I live along the River's Edge in Wausau, the River's Edge Trail, and there's a lot of invasive species there, buckthorn and honeysuckle. And there are AmeriCorps projects, and if you ever want to talk to me about more contacts and stuff, that could come into the community and start to eradicate that. So trails and buckthorns, we're not here to displace the existing workers. As a matter of fact, we can't. We have to add and augment to it. But if there was an Earth Day activity where we would attack the buckthorn along the River's Edge Trail over here, that might be something that AmeriCorps members could engage in. And there are other programs who specialize in that. Another good one, and I hope it doesn't happen, but is disaster response. It's good to have a team, and we could put together some training and say, hey, if there's a disaster in our area and we need to set up a shelter for families, our AmeriCorps members are already all first aid CPR certified, and they kind of know their way around classrooms and working with children. So it's another kind of short-term example. We worked with the YMCA, I don't know if they're still doing that community garden there or not. We've worked with DC Everest in their summer school programs.
They have the card, they have that sign out there. And
Yeah. The AmeriCorps program is huge and it's alive, which means go to the websites, check out the resources. It's your money, and bring it back into the community. I work hard to do that, have been for a while, and I see the power of how much it works. Helang asked something about, it's setting up the framework for our future leaders. They're giving them good experience with great mentors along the way, because the AmeriCorps members too usually have a site supervisor who is their mentor, and they get the, opportunity to just lead. Thanks for the questions. Others? Okay, I'm absolutely open to discussing AmeriCorps, and I thank you very much for your time and investment that you make in our community.
You got a great radio voice. Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Steve. Next one is Jim Pinasol. I don't see him here.
Not here.
Well, is he online? No? Okay. All right, moving on. Minutes from previous meetings. 2/21/22 Board of Trustees meeting and 2/22/22 Special Board of Trustees meeting.
Move to approve concurrently, both items.
Concurrently. We have a motion by Feeny, a second by Sagami. Anything on the question? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Reports, minutes from boards, committees and commissions. I'm gonna do blues. 12 is finance. Any more? Any questions for Jessica? Let's see. Nothing in tourism, 16 park and rec. Sean, anything you wanna add or any questions for Sean?
Move to acknowledge items 12, 16, 17, and 18.
Second.
Motion by Feeny, second by Zon. Okay,
There's more to come yet.
so you want to just get them out there or just jump in the gun or what?
Well, this is just for acknowledgement, the actual reports are later.
Well, anybody have anything on public works or nothing? No? Okay. So, it's motion and seconded. Any more in discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 19, nothing from the Wausau Central Wisconsin visitors. 20 is administrator, Keith.
So with respect to the things in my report, I do have 3 items that, first of all, update on the new facility construction. We had some things that were mentioned last time. We still don't have necessarily a resolution on, but there's progress being made. I know that we have been informed that there's a situation or a delay in getting delivery on these overhead doors. I guess we're expecting that we'll get some more information on that this week from Jack Kilgore and work that through with CUNY and the contractor. It's really in their court first. We had talked about possibly entertaining a additional warranty on the roof. We still don't know what that exact amount would be. I guess we've got an estimate that it might be another $10,000. We had some issue with the perimeter lighting brought up by a neighbor several months ago, and it turns out that situation is a matter to be addressed between the electrical hardware supplier and the electrical subcontractor. So we were told that should be getting resolved sometime in April. And took bids on the salt shed, but those are still being evaluated and actually looking into the feasibility of relocating the current shed that we have at this point in time. So nothing really more to report on that. The next item
Just real quick,
talking about would like
So- the doors though is, up on Red Mountain, which are the same doors that went on the safety building.
the ones that are in the bid,
Yes,
the ones that are in the contract.
but they're still involved and we had quite a few issues there, so.
Well,
if you-
that's, yeah.
If you have any help there or somebody that we can kind of monitor that as it goes in, that'd be, I think, pretty good. All right, that's all I got, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, and then the roof, who's putting the roof in? Who is this? Do we
The
know?
roof's already done.
Okay, but the extra
We're
warranty?
just talking about an extra warranty.
Okay,
Like it has a 10-year warranty and
That's pretty short.
it's about extending it to 20.
okay.
Is this a new, on the roof, is this a new system or something that's only got a 10-year warranty? That's pretty short.
It's the Firestone is always the 10 years. That's the
Is
Firestone.
that standard?
Yeah, it's 10 years for them.
Is that a,
If you want additional, you have to pay for it.
Okay. So I'm not familiar, I would assume it's a buildup with stone, is it fabric?
No, there's no stone in there.
on that one.
It's the installation below it, and at the top is the membrane.
Okay,
It has internal drains.
that answers me, thank you.
Couple of the other items mentioned in my report before we get to a couple of things that I would like some action on by the board. We have a newsletter that's gonna be, we want copy by the end of this week. I know we talked to Chief Schultz and also had contacted Josh. I don't know if you got the updated deadline here, but we do need copy by the end of the week here. I guess included in that is gonna be one of the other items that I wanted to get some, maybe some thoughts from the board on, and with respect to the EMP referendum. Again, we'll come back to that here in a minute. We do have a hearing next Tuesday for the TID 2 project plan. I'm sure that Jennifer had that in her report as well. But we do have some FAQ type things that were requested by the plan commission that we need to get completed here prior to that hearing and hopefully get out to everybody beforehand. And we also had some interaction with a appeal that was filed by a business owner from on a review of a project by staff. The claim was that there was some under the terms of our zoning code, aggrieved, he was a aggrieved person by this decision or recommendation of the review of the plans. And this is the first time anything like this has ever happened to us, or has been filed, as I'm told, as I understand. And we had some conversation with Attorney Edie on that, and I guess one of the things we need to maybe consider at a board level here at some point, and probably need to bring Matt in, is how we determine what constitutes an aggrieved party, so that we're not just dealing with nuisance complaints and this type of thing. So I just want you to be aware of that. And unless there's other questions on that, I can move on to the two items that I wanted some feedback or action from the board on here.
I guess, for me, not knowing, what the state statute is for a grouped person, I'm of the opinion that it should be, as narrowly tailored as possible. Because to me, if someone living right next door is going to be impacted, that's one thing. If it's someone from anywhere within the village where it's not really going to affect their day-to-day life and they disapprove of it, well, I don't see them as an immediately aggrieved person like a neighbor would be. So that's just my 2 cents.
All right, well,
It's actually a little bit more removed than that. It's not agreeing or disagreeing with the project. It's the procedure. So it's actually a little bit further even out than that. So I'm surprised that Matt didn't have something on there where it just can't be allowed.
well,
You know, if somebody wants to talk about procedure or policy, that's one issue,
all right.
but not to hold up a project.
Can
You know,
I say something? He just basically, because I talked to him about that,
okay,
it just, the way he stated is it couldn't come from staff telling him that he wasn't an aggrieved party. So essentially, we were gonna have to go through the process, and the zoning board of appeals was going to have to tell him that.
Mhm.
So what he said was that the state statutes is kind of fuzzy when it's at the local level, and then it changes when it gets further out. But as we talked, it's just the fact that it could open a can of worms with essentially everything, every project that anyone tries to bring in here, someone could.
Yeah.
Including every single resident.
Right.
well, and again, it's not the actual event, it's not the project. It's the procedure, and so the procedure is really general in sense. So why couldn't we just talk of that and not affect the project? Not affect the budget, I mean, the building, in my mind, so. I mean, if you wanna talk about procedures, come on in, let's talk, let's figure it out. So, I agree. So we still have to go through this, even though the plans were pulled back?
No, because they changed the whole site plan,
right.
because when I called to let them know, the party know, they actually, the engineer had said, well, I was gonna call you anyway, we need to move the driveway.
Okay.
So that basically changed the site plan, and therefore they have resubmitted. And the applicant did ask for us just to leave it there, but you can't agree something that doesn't really exist. So, I mean, he can always reapply, but, I mean, we have to go through the whole process. I have to review the whole thing again, so.
Okay, here's the item.
So I guess next thing would be follow up here on the approval, on the furniture budget. So Ada, I sent you that update. So we've had additional meetings with Emmons Business Interiors following our last meeting. And there's been some additional detail on looking at suitability of taking furniture over from here to the new facility. I think the idea was to maximize the amount of stuff we bring over. So if you, on these floor plans, okay, here's the first floor plan. Anything that is in blue is furniture that's being brought over. Anything that's in the orange or orangish areas is new furniture. So on the first floor, you can see we have a boardroom. The main areas that the public sees when they come into the entry foyer, new workstation type thing for the front office staff and those main offices off that area. Furniture from administrator offices moving over with some additional stuff being finished in there as well. There was some revisions done to the boardroom where we've added some desks along the side for staff, and in the event we have larger, say, committees with board meetings, combined joint meetings, if you will. And then the lunchroom area there, but the furniture going into the training room is coming primarily out of this room. Second story.
Well,
Next page.
the ones in white are not populated, right?
Correct.
Okay, so nothing in there. And then the center spot on the first floor, if you could just go back one,
Okay.
sorry. Has that been changed, where those cubicles are now? I thought that was
They
all,
were farther away from the front desk.
Okay.
In the past, and we moved them closer.
okay,
And there was actually 6 of them initially, and now they've been reduced to 4.
okay, all right.
There was some proposal to put some furniture in that area below that, those cabinets or things that are, those file cabinets that are moving.
Mhm.
But that's being left vacant for the time being.
And one of those protruding offices is the drive up, right?
Right,
Right there?
yep. Okay, then go to the second story. And you can see the majority of the furniture going up there is being moved over. From the recommendation of Emmons was that we tried to, their suggestion was to replace work surfaces. So desktops and so forth are being proposed to be replaced in those locations as shown. Some of them are not good shape, and then they're not usable or they're matching new stuff. So, and then for instance, the furniture that's in the clerk's office right now is being moved to where Nate's office is gonna be, and there's some other things that are being treated, not, so the person that's using it now may not be the same one. So anyway, other things that were noted as we went through this again was that he didn't provide, there's no overhead storage being provided. We have some overhead storage here. But the thought was not to attach as much to the walls as was kind of the thought. However, there are a couple of overheads that are built into the plan. I think one is is gonna be in the office that the finance director will have. And there's possibility of maybe one or two other things. There's no proposal to buy new overhead things, but we didn't provide for tack boards initially. And that was something that was recommended now because we don't want people putting lots of holes in the new walls, I don't think, or taping things on. So those probably added, we had this estimate down to about 108,000, but now in the end, it's back at the $117,000, $118,000 level. And another part of that is, if you go back to the boardroom, on the first floor, the arrangement's is different than what had been envisioned initially. So there's provisions for grommets and electrical connections between desks so that we don't have to have cables run around the floor. There was initially some locations of in-floor electrical connections that were placed. Those got modified, but those couldn't be modified anymore, so the furniture's been modified to work with what we have. So we're at a recommended budget number. You go to the last page here, Nate. So in this presentation, there's just a list of, a summary of what's in each office, or the cost of each office, I'm sorry. But the quote here is 117,900, so I said, like I said, 118,000. That includes a not to exceed estimate for moving the existing furniture of $12,700. So, as our budget was, or the allowance in the budget was 65,000, we would need to tap into our contingency on this for about $52,000.
Discussion?
Well, I was just looking at the tear down, move and reinstall. I mean, this furniture that they're moving and putting new tops on and whatnot all, what is the savings on that versus new?
Oh, it's considerable. For the 12,000, you mean?
Yeah, the moving and whatnot all, did that include the new tops?
And putting tops on, yes.
Did that include that number? Okay.
Right? They're gonna look
Yes.
quite consistent,
Mhm.
you know, with all the surfaces.
Mr. President?
I'm sorry.
Just for clarification, so, Administrator Donner, you mentioned that the budget that originally we had in was $65,000, but now we're over 52,000, is that?
An allowance recommended by the architect. Yes.
Yeah, so if we were to say, we're not increasing anymore, what is the plan? What is the contingency plan? What is the follow-up? What is the next steps?
If we hold it at 65,
Yes.
which was a guess, it's just like what they did with the safety building. The contingency plan is nothing.
Right,
So
it's
not
not the
be
price
furnished.
range is now that,
Not be able to furnish the boardroom, we'd be probably moving the stuff over, we'd not be furnishing or we would, either the training room or the boardroom, one of the two wouldn't be furnished. Any office areas you see that are showing new furniture wouldn't be furnished. You'd be bringing over the furniture from here to the areas that, we're gonna have a new building. We also be, I guess, not taking advantage of the opportunity with the pricing that has been offered by Han in this case, with the discounts that they indicated. Emmons has been spending considerable time that they are now including any kind of billing for going through all the options and running through all these scenarios. So I guess it's a matter of whether we want consistent look over there, we want to bring in.
Lauren?
Yeah,
I have a question. This contingency you're talking about, is this out of the entire building project or is this contingency village budget?
It's in what we have in the current budget for the project.
Okay, so there was already a contingency in for this to cover these unforeseen expenses that might be occurred. It could have been spent on some
Garage doors.
electrical something or.
There's two things. One is there's a contingency the contractor was required to put in his bid. Cover
Unforeseeable.
seen things, value added issues that come up in the project. That's not what I'm talking about. We put in a $200,000 contingency over and above any contract value that Myron had. That's the part of the estimate we're talking about.
Okay. You answered my question. Thank you.
Anybody else?
So your 52 would come under that too, correct? Okay.
And you don't foresee needing that money elsewhere?
Well, we have some audio visual things to be addressed. Those aren't gonna be 50,000. I know Nate's working with, and you know, those are not part of anybody's bid. You know, we need some, you know, monitors and microphones and things like that over there. I know we're working through what that number will be. Is I guess a number that was suggested as we've been discussing this is about 25,000 maybe. I don't know if that's the right number or not. I hate to say something without really having the, you know, something in front of me, but.
Yeah, I mean, Dan or Michael might be able to answer this question better, but I'm actually way more nervous on the shop. On what's gonna be in there, what's not gonna be in there, what we're gonna need for the shop, you know, tools or, you know, different things. We're gonna have lifts now that we don't have now, I don't think. But that's all part of it.
There were lifts that
Yeah,
were provided as part of them.
Right, right. But, you know, it's just some incidentals. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I guess.
But it might not be part of the building. It might be part of operations. You know?
I guess, yeah, I'm concerned about, you know, let's face it, the price being as high as it is versus, but I'm not so sure the original price was that realistic. And being that the prices have increased substantially since that was first done. I mean, just ask me, was started out with a little sunroom with a wash thing, and I'll tell you, it is not what the original budget was.
I think 65 though is an error. I really do. I think
Yeah.
it was,
Well, when they first came up, I thought, that's ridiculous.
yeah, it's really not even a good guess. You know, I mean, it's kind of like the finishing of the safety building too. You know, so it's not like we bid it out and then we spent more. You know, so I just don't think it's the same thing. Lauren?
Mr. Chairman, can we act on this with a motion?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I move to accommodate the changes in the furniture fixtures and whatever the heck you wanna call it. And to take it out of the building, project contingency.
I'll second it.
To what tune? The 117? And
117.
change?
118.
118?
559,
118.
not to exceed.
So there will be a proposal or a contract that comes back from Emmons on this.
The cost less, great.
Motion by White, second by Ermeling. And any more on the question?
I don't, maybe this may be an example where we need to get this executed once it has been put together. In the interest.
Let's get this
of
approved here.
furnished.
That's less is better right now.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any more in discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Yeah, I mean, so she's gonna have to get that going fast.
I would assume there's lag time in ordering furniture
She's
too.
definitely under the gun, you know.
Right.
Administrator, highlights for 22, discussion and possible action.
So I guess I should have been more specific.
Real quick, the furniture, that big, huge boardroom that you just saw in there, because I'm thinking everything is 3 times the size, you know, so everything we have, it's 3 times the offices, 3 times the shop, 3 times the boardroom. It's actually, this way right here is 1 foot shorter and it's 10 feet longer. Oh, wow. So I think when I heard that from Michael, I'm going, whoa. I thought this was big. I thought the ceiling was very high. It's not, it's 9 feet. And so it's practical. It's practical. We don't need much more than this. So we're losing a foot here and we're gaining 10 feet going this way. So that's just so you envision that. Okay?
Not much.
Nope, not much. And you know what? This is fine. You know, we don't run into too many problems here. It's nice and intimate.
You know, for busy room, if we make that ceiling even 10 feet or 12 feet, it still is acceptable because with the number of people sitting in here.
Yeah.
I think especially winter time, it make it a little bit.
Yep, I agree. Okay, sorry, I was thinking about that the whole time. Work plan.
So, this is something that has, you know, probably a lot of parts to it, but there was two things I wanted to discuss with the board tonight. One is that, it's been discussed at finance committee meetings. Jessica and I have talked about it. I talked to President Maloney about it, you know, that we're at a point where we should be thinking about doing a strategic plan and identifying our core services and how we may want to go about that. I have gotten proposals from a couple of firms on this. You know, there's local sources we could present potentially, or local people that can maybe help facilitate it. I know this can be a time consuming thing. And, you know, it gets back to us probably doing board retreats every year, and we've gotten away from doing that too. So I guess if you like, we can bring back proposals on strategic planning at the next board meeting, or I don't know if you had other thoughts about that. Other things that you want to maybe look at on that.
I totally agree. Lauren, go ahead.
But after listening to the comments from the finance committee, I think that going forward in the future, I think it'd be a good idea. I know it's sometimes it's a little too much is to go for RFPs for consultant services on this.
It might be too.
Yeah, I definitely think that when we're doing, these type of strategic planning, it needs to go out for a bid for a proposal though. You know, I just think there's, in our community, we have a wide variety of talent and, you know, they, just be able to engage, you know, like giving opportunities to them as well too. I mean, I definitely, will have several individuals that I would recommend as well too, you know, to apply for, you know, to apply for it, to submit in the RFPs in general. But I think we need to go out for RFP for the strategic plan.
And then just tell me how that would look. So we have a 8-hour meeting. What does that mean by hiring someone to facilitate?
So a strategic plan isn't gonna last just 8 hours, it's gonna be 6 months to a year, you know, a lot of it's, they're gonna work with staff to conduct with, you know, a lot of the planning, do a lot of prep work. And then when they're actually meeting with the board, it's probably gonna be 8 hours minimum, you know, it's gonna be it's gonna be a lot more than that actually. I just went through another 2 strategic planning for 2 other organizations I'm on as well too, so it takes a lot of time to put a piece together. It might be even longer if you want to hear from stakeholders, you know, we always talk about how we want to hear from our businesses, we always talk about how we want to hear from our, you know, the citizens, et cetera, so there's multiple steps to it as well, and it could take a little bit longer as well, so. If we're gonna do a strategic plan, my recommendation is to do it right, you know, to do it, even if it takes a little bit more time, that's just my thought.
I agree. So, yeah, I think community input is something we need to really look at.
You know, the ones I've been on in past where Lauren and I think Barb have been, or Shane maybe, you're right, they were 8 hours and facilitated by whoever. And I think you're right. I think that's a much better approach. I think it's gonna be really good for staff. You know, you know, the 7 of us sitting here, we don't realize the impact on staff because we change. This election's gonna be a change. And, you know, it's something that we gotta kind of go through it probably every year. You know, once you do all the legwork, you know, and then you just gotta keep going in, because we haven't been with one now for 4 or 5 years, more long, maybe longer.
Oh, it hasn't been formally, it has
Yeah.
not been formally updated.
Yeah.
But I think it was mainly done through staff and maybe some
Yeah.
amount with the board, I don't know, I guess I wasn't.
I think the residents, stakeholders, I think Schofield Avenue businesses, you bet. Lauren?
I think that staff is capable, however, I think it's always a good idea to have a third party look at your situation. And I know from consultant, they look at your history, they look at what's happening today, and then you look a little further down the road, and if, it takes a long time to do that, and I think it's, productive to have a third person come in and say, well, you know, if we can all put our feelings aside and say, well, you should have, perhaps you could find a better way to do this, or this is not as productive as this. We don't have to take whatever they tell us as gospel, but it puts an idea in your mind that perhaps, well, maybe we should do something different.
Well, I would certainly come into it biased, the way I think, and I think staff at a certain degree would do the same thing, so. Right.
Just to add, these consultants may have also done other strategic plan for other municipalities and bring in fresh ideas, or they could be looking at what we're doing specifically and said, well, we also worked with, I don't know, just making up a village somewhere else and they're doing it this way. So potentially generate additional ideas as well too, and help streamline a lot of things we're doing as well, so,
Good point. Okay. you got
Okay,
a
the
report?
second item in there is, any discussion about a referendum for Everest Metro. And, when I sent out the, ideas or I guess requests for, articles for a newsletter, Chief Schultz had asked about, you know, what are we gonna say about this potential referendum? Because the advice or the, consensus among the municipalities, I guess, from ourselves and our financial advisor, who was also shared by Schofield, felt that a fall referendum just is not the right time. It needs to be next spring or in the spring. And I guess how we get the discussion started and who's involved in this whole process, that's something that we need to decide here. That's just
At the,
people that represent Weston, Central. I don't know what the.
at the last several meetings, Mayor Craig and Milt, Chairman Milt, both said, we gotta move, and I know Craig is gone for several months. He said that, and Keith has already started talking to Lisa and Rasmussen, I think. Yeah. I can't remember. And yeah, Reeves, and I've had a talk with her too, but he just said she can start facilitating this, and I think they've got, who, Ellers involved, or who?
Yeah, okay, so so I update on that. Okay, so they have a contract proposal from others to do the financial background and whatnot that's required. There are certain things required by statute, as I understand it, for a referendum to be put together. I think we were envisioning we'd probably need something similar in place. I know we'd be able to do maybe a little bit more of some of the statistics or whatever may be done, but we would probably need the assistance of someone, and Ellers would be filling more of a technical aspect of this. And I did confirm this talking with Greg Johnson today, that is really their role in these things is more of the technical side. And what we also need to think about is the marketing and public relations side. And I had shared a contact with a firm that had done some promotional work for Oshkosh Truck that I saw, and I thought I was very impressed with it. I also shared it with President Maloney, and I think he was the same opinion. Now there are other places we can go, but we have a meeting set up next week to talk about this with Clay and at least Jessica, myself, and Mark.
I think you should share that video. It's just a type of some kind of a campaign. It's quite impressive. Honestly, he asked me if I had looked at it, and another week asked me if I had looked at it, and I'm kind of being stupid. I should have just said I'm not looking at it. And then I finally thought, God, I'm gonna have breakfast with him. I better look at the darn thing, and I did. I was really impressed by somebody in Oshkosh, I believe, or Appleton, about a Oshkosh campaign.
Or they actually have, this person we're working with indicated that she served on the Appleton Police Commission at one point in time.
I was
It's
stunned.
not her.
Jessica, have you seen it?
I sent it to everybody, but not everybody looked at it.
So I'm actually better than some of the people here. I actually feel really good about that.
I didn't say.
Yeah, okay.
I will send it to the trustees.
Yeah, one of the questions I had, and that I can't get an answer here, just, and I'll, maybe this is your question, is what does this look like? What does this increase look like for public safety? I mean, what is the ask? I'd like to know, if somehow we could, not right now, but over a week or so or before this meeting, what is this ask gonna look like? Do we have a range? Do we have an idea?
I think that's something that could dovetail on it. What is the duration? Is there a timeline for this? Is there a end of it? Is it perpetual?
Well, Jessica, tell us how this would work. I mean, would this not change it indefinitely for public safety or not? And this referendum is only for public safety, correct?
There's two different asks, right, Jerry, that you can ask for something that's ongoing or a specific
Or
dollar
one time.
amount, obviously the ongoing. Currently, one of our issues is our net new construction isn't enough to cover ongoing costs. So for example, we would say, okay, we're gonna go out, ask for $300,000. Hire the officers to cover this $300,000, but then you're gonna give raises and health insurance is gonna go up. And that following year, I'm not gonna have the money to pay for the increases for those $300,000 officers. So that right there is my concerns. That's where I think working with Greg to see, I know you can only do certain stuff, but what are the options to make sure that once we get this referendum, we can survive for 5 years? What can we do to make sure, knowing that per state statute, we can't cover ongoing costs?
That's if it goes. We may fail, or Schofield may fail, and the other two communities might make it. So but we want to do this together so that it's a three-community joint venture.
It sounds very similar to what the school districts do. They have a building referendum and a referendum to cover the cost of heating, cooling, air conditioning, all that sort of stuff that goes on with the building.
What DC Everest did was remarkable. I mean, I think 72%, that's unheard of, so.
But to being one of the few individuals on the DCR school board, they didn't.
You're the only.
Yeah, they didn't do any operation just because they knew that it wasn't gonna pass, the community tends to support more of, a concrete one-time issue, so. But they also had a committee that was actually really running the whole campaign, so if something's gonna be done, we would need to do that, and I actually think they hired a consultant as well too. I know that we're talking a lot about RFP, but had somebody that came in and helped provide guidance as well on how to promote and market it to the community as well. But they really had a group of leaders and individuals that led the project. So if we're going to do something like that, we want to establish some sort of ad hoc group of the three communities to really lead that. Just throwing that out there as something for us to remember and to think about as well.
So I guess tying into your question, yes, I think we haven't defined necessarily what the ask is. We have to have a lot of discussion about what that all is, I think, and understand what our plan is to put into the whole thing, so.
Is Eller gonna tell us how much to ask?
I don't know how much, it would depend how many officers Everest Metro may want to ask for, or what else they may want to include. I don't know the answer to all that stuff.
Yeah, but I have a concern, with this referendum on how it's going to be worded, because if you say, okay, you're gonna hire X number of police officers and it's for this much, it's gonna cost and everything else, well, that's kind of like buying something and then having to keep servicing it. I mean, it's kind of like they used to say, you can buy a car, but keeping it up is something else. And that's the same thing with if you hired X number of police officers, you gotta have in that referendum to keep them, to include the
It's not a
cost.
sunset. It's not a sunset. And all three communities realize that.
Okay, Because, yeah, that would be, like I said, I was always told it's easy to buy a car, but it's not so easy to pay for the insurance and gas and.
President Maloney?
Yes.
I guess I would direct that question to our representative from the Everest Metro and see if he can help us answer some of those questions.
You know, Chief Schultz told me that what we ask him tonight, he will have the answer.
So you're asking about potential numbers of officers?
Yes.
I don't have the same questions myself. I think it would be between 4 and 7.
It's 6. 6 will get us to the area's average.
Right.
That's just the average.
Yep.
So that we are, I think we're actually the lowest.
So, and we're expecting there'll be 100,000 roughly to fund one officer from my recollection.
More than 100.
But that's not including the vehicles that we would have to get in as well too. Okay.
That number
Some
was
benefits.
about it sometime like 1,000. Can you just talk about it?
About what?
100,000 per
Yeah,
officer?
Yeah, that's in how much, that's in current dollars, that's not down the road.
So would that also bring back the community service officer, going to the drug interdiction task force that we have, as well as, not running skeleton crews?
Yeah, if we were able to get between that 4 and 7, especially if it's closer to the 6, 7 mark, we'd be able to spread that over to different aspects of the department, detective bureau, drug force, community service officer. There'd be different special assignments that we would want to spread that over and still be able to cover the road.
I was just gonna say, cover the road, that's so you're seeing.
Well, that's what the public always, when I was in law enforcement, I never see a squad car. Well, you're obviously, you're not looking out your window when the car goes by your house. Kind of a smart ass answer, but
I see one going down the road and go, oh, what's
So-
happening down there?
one of the things we talk about is reactive as opposed to proactive.
Is, each community have to hold their own referendum?
Yes.
But
Because we're
the Everest
multi-juris.
Metro serving everybody.
Yep.
Couldn't the Everest Metro just be one referendum for everybody?
I don't believe so, because each of the 3 municipalities have to get that rate up for the public safety funding, yeah.
Because my understanding is that because it's a multi-juris agency, each constituent part of the jurisdiction has to agree to it.
The same way with the budget has to be agreed to by all.
Calendar.
Well, we kind of stalled a little bit. They were gonna go, I thought, for fall, and we just didn't think it was appropriate with the building. We gotta get in the building, get it done, kind of have some finality to it, and then in April, I think the timing would be better. So. My thoughts.
Well, and if
And November is gonna be a pretty wild turnout. That's gonna
you
be
can say
massive.
Weston approved it and the other 2 didn't, their officers would be scaled back, but we still could do it, I think. It's just Weston would have to be carrying it on their own.
That's in defiance of the funding formula. Because
Yeah.
it's based upon all those, was it 6 factors now? Or is it 5?
That's 5 or 6, yeah.
Yeah. So that's in contradiction to the funding formula,
Well, the town has got a flat fee.
right?
Okay. All right, you got enough there?
I'm not sure how I address anything in the newsletter article after having something come from Clay. Always on vacation.
I know, but, I know, and I talked to Josh and Clay, I just asked that you guys would, each department would just kind of have a little file started and you could kind of rotate. It's not, you have to come up with something new every time. So, I mean, whatever you ran last time, you could probably do the same.
Clay submitted his article.
Clay already gave me an article.
You ready? Thank you.
Draft.
He gave it to me. I
Yeah.
have it.
I would love it if for the safer one to obviously introduce our new chief.
Yeah.
Specific, I think that would be a great article.
That's huge news and plus, it's going forward. And yeah, I agree.
So something along that line, so.
All right.
I was,
Sherry tells me that Clay has submitted his article, but we don't know what it says yet.
so then who's missing?
I don't know. I was only commenting because Clay had asked about the referendum.
I think,
Email that he sent.
I think there's 2 things. It's very simple. It's the position. And now we're gonna have to go for hiring on the deputy. We have an interim, but, and it's Erica Lane. And then the other one, I think, is the two very simple things. Not yours wasn't that simple, but the emblem. We have now officially went through the safer emblem. We did not even have the safer emblem for all this time. And Josh did a hell of a job on that, did a lot of work on it. I think he got a lot of it done for free. And, it's already on I mean, I almost, every time I see it, I almost crash. I just love it. And it's really been received very well by the ranks, which I think we all had some doubts on how it was gonna get received.
Yeah.
And, it's very specific. And I think once we get the buildings kind of logoed, I think they'll be neat. So I think those are the easiest ones right there, right?
Sure. Yep.
Yep. And, Josh added the axes and it looks really, yeah. Okay,
All right,
good.
I think so.
So my apologies on the first one. Nate was right. We were doing minutes and not reports, and I'm looking at this and I don't know how. I think if we add a color so that I realize that I need to work on what I don't need to work on, because I
It's
do
a
it
Monday.
every single time. I know, but I mean, my heavens, what's going on? All right, so, you're finished?
I'm finished.
Okay. Clerk, anything more? Sherry's got a report. Anything more for,
Well, just a reminder that in-person absentee voting starts here tomorrow,
cool.
What are the hours?
8:30 to 4.
Okay.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
I just want to express a deep appreciation to Clerk Wanka for her leadership in leading the whole, trying to get Hmong individuals working there. I think that means a lot, and I just want to express my deep appreciation to her.
I think, that was actually a very good discussion. Because I saw us, like when people or municipalities would call you or others, it's really what they're doing is Band-Aid. It's just a Band-Aid. It's not fixing it, it's taking care of it right now. And the true fix is to have, language people here that can help, And I think that's awesome.
Well, I also want to note that if this is successful, I think we'll be one of the first ones in the state, if not the Midwest,
Really?
to do something along lines here, because
Wow.
I think even Minnesota's.
Yeah. I like the no beard, by the way.
But so I just want to express my deep appreciation to you.
couldn't help it. I was gonna say it after the meeting, but I thought I'd do it now.
For people listening in that have changed their addresses, what would they need to bring in order to prove their new address?
Need to be alive?
Did you change your driver's license?
Nope.
Okay, you could use a bank statement, you can use a utility bill, something with your name and current address on it.
I'll
Credit
vouch
card
for you.
bill,
I'll vouch for you.
I don't think it's really I don't think your credibility's that great, Mark.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, when I come in here, it's full, everything comes out. Renee has everything laid out. I gotta sign some things and notarize who I am. And then
I had to give a blood sample.
well, somebody was complaining and I said, hey, I actually work here a little bit, so.
so you know what's gonna happen is there'll be just that one
I
person
know.
that you don't know that's standing there.
I-
Why didn't you do that?
I was here and there was a big struggle and I waited to see how it turned out. Turned out well, but yeah, they didn't want to have anything. All right, so nothing for Sherry, finance? Anything more for Jessica? Anything you want to add or ask? Good job tonight. Good meeting before this one. Fire and EMS is not blue, but we'll make that red. Anything you want to talk about?
No, other than obviously my promotion. We do have, like you spoke about the deputy chief. We will interview for that early April. I don't have a firm date set yet. We did make a job offer for our open captain position. He's going through his health assessment and physical and those types of things right now, so we're waiting for that information to come back. And we have interviews for part-time staff on the 28th. We have 5 for sure that we'll be interviewing, potentially 6. I'm just waiting for confirmation on the last one I sent out today.
And I don't know if you all know, but Scott Tatro is one of the fire commissioners. So he serves on the Village of Weston's behalf. And so that's pretty neat. Okay.
I'm very glad to hear that you got that you got the fire chief position, and I know that Safer's in good hands.
Thank you.
Moving forward. Anything else? No? Okay. Park and Rec. Now, Park and Rec. Sorry about that.
No problem. So I did have a report in the packet. If anybody has any questions regarding my report.
How many thousands of trees are we cutting down?
how many thousands of trees?
How many tens, how many
Well,
hundreds?
there's 111 inventory ash trees,
Okay,
and we took down 19 at Kennedy Park. That basically started the process of the inventory ash trees that we're closing for the item later in the agenda where we have an action item regarding it. As far as people calling us regarding that, we only had one person call us about actual tree cutting at Kennedy Park that was a neighbor to the park. Just because she said she had received calls from other people when they were done. Her husband was a forester previously. And then I did get a call from an area in the southeastern part of the village, a property owner who has cut down some dead ash trees over the last few years. Probably should have notified us a long time ago that he was cutting down dead ash trees on his property, just so we were aware it was in the area. And somebody that, you know, was familiar with the village and was actually on committee at one point. So that's about the only feedback we've gotten regarding that item, really, so far.
I know that half the people here want to ask the same question I'm going to ask, and I'm going to ask it for them. When you said you have 111 inventory, you can't possibly be stating that you have all the trees inventory.
No, the only ones that are inventory, and if you,
So on public property?
It's, street trees, parks, municipal buildings, does not include wooded areas within parks, does not include private property,
Schools?
no.
Okay.
So if you, there's an explanation in the forest management plan that explains which trees, and there's maps. Our high population areas were Kennedy Park here, Yellow Banks, and the public safety building as far as the inventory ash trees. But, you know, subdivisions, street trees were inventory, but the village itself stopped planting ash trees back in 2002 as far as street trees. And that's around that emerald ash was discovered in Michigan. So they don't typically inventory ash trees within wooded lot areas.
So 111, what's your estimate? How many are around the area?
In the village, total, thousands.
Okay.
10,000, 20,000. We know down on the Oak Clear River Trail alone, there's probably 1,000 that can walk the Oak Clear River Trail.
They're like, I go take my dogs.
There's a lot of ash trees down there, so.
Okay.
It's one of those things where it's something that you won't be able to eradicate. I mean, it's been around for 20 years already, and the only thing you can do is if you want to save a specific tree in your yard is you can start treating it, but you will be treating it in perpetuity, so. Every year, or every other year, depending on the chemical, and the cost is expensive. City of Weston spent over $100,000 in chemicals last year, treating trees. They're doing a combination of removal and treating, but I think they're just trying to keep them alive long enough so they don't have to cut them all at once.
Okay. All right. Good to know.
But I do have an item under my report also, regarding the Paraska Park property. And the reason that item is under my report is it's something that I guess recently has been discussed, you know, what type of grants the village applies for, projects, you know, street projects, stuff like that. There are also grants that Parks has typically applied for. And, you know, between urban forestry grants, land water conservation grants, rivers and trails grants, we have a lot of properties where we've gotten grants before. But some of the feeling that we received from the board in the past due to the ties of federal and state grants that are used for park purposes is you're tied to them in perpetuity. So you saw the hold up on getting the Weston Warming House torn down. Is because we are still tied to that little chunk of property where that building was, still now. I mean, it took us 4 years to get that facility torn down. And there are other options, as I stated in my report. I mean, there's conversion of use. You can give it to another entity, or you can change the use. So there's basically 3 options, but you are tied to it. We've done conversions previously, when they purchased right away from us at Yellow Banks Park, for the Camp Phillips. They did that twice. We actually took the value of the property that they paid us for
and we converted it to the chunk property at Kennedy Park. That, now there's a little chunk property at Kennedy Park that's tied to federal dollars. So what we're really looking for is this something the current board feels like, you know, we should be applying for grants for? It's a 50-50 grant typically for development. It is something we should look at doing in the future, because we've also talked about, we've had this property out there and haven't done anything with it.
What kind of use are we thinking?
Mostly a passive use park. So
Parking lot and a walking trail.
walking trails. There's 5 ponds on the
This is
property,
the northeast corner of Ryan and Weston.
northeast corner, yes. And based on the offer or the purchase agreement, we are required to develop it as a park. Based on the agreement we signed with the Proskus, but there's no timeline put in it and there was no specific use of the park.
How many acres? How many acres?
The current property is 77, but we do have another 10 acres to the north that the village acquired through an agreement with Gary Gurn.
Is it part of, I mean, is it adjacent?
It's adjoined, yeah.
They're attached to each other.
Isn't there a little bit more that's owned by Andy Sutton too? Am I?
There is another parcel down there along the highway.
A little wedge piece? Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was Andy. No?
Mr. President?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
2 quick questions. What is the maximum amount that we can apply for?
Well, you can apply for as much as you want. I mean, the federal funding available just for state is usually at least 150 million. And it depends. And this current grant cycle is for 22, 23.
I got a feeling of where this is going. I think you need to work with E a little bit.
Yeah, well, yeah, I could definitely help.
Yeah.
Another question for you is, I'm assuming that the matching is, it does allow in-kind as well too?
It does. Yes, you can use forced labor and equipment.
Forced labor?
That's what they call it.
Explain force.
Yeah.
You're gonna make people work?
So if under federal, you know, the reimbursement guidelines, they call it forced account labor and equipment. That's what they call it. I'm not forcing anybody.
Just giving you a hard time.
You know, with federal and state grant requirements are a lot, there's a lot more to them than there is, you know, some of the other foundations and so forth. So if you do forced account labor, or any materials purchases, you have to bid it out. Forced account labor, you have to do daily timesheets for every individual, equipment, et cetera. So just the reimbursement claims take some time. We've done them before. We do have federal grant dollars in multiple different areas of the village right now.
Mr. President, 2 more questions, sorry.
Go ahead. No, absolutely.
How competitive is the grant and what is the likelihood of us actually getting that grant?
It's pretty competitive. We actually are, the last grant that we received, we were, was for the Ross Avenue launch. That was a recreational trails grant. We were actually number 4. They funded the top 3. But one of the top 3 couldn't take the funds and expend them in time, so then they moved us up. That was when we basically had to double the budget because we had already started the project.
And then,
so there are some things that we do that make us have a little advantage, which is being a green tier community. Obviously, like stated in my report, you have to have a comprehensive outdoor rec plan and an approved one. Ours actually expired.
Your urban forestry plan?
Urban forestry grants, but our corp expired in October, and we haven't budgeted to be updated this year. We didn't obviously anticipate applying for a grant at this point, but it is something where we can re-adopt the current corp to try to submit a grant for the May 1st deadline.
and last question for you is, what is the reporting requirements?
The reporting requirements?
Yes, usually federal grants are typically pretty extensive.
They are very
So I'm
expensive.
just kind of curious.
They are very extensive. Even the grant process, the application is quite extensive. To try to squeeze something in like this, with this timeline, because of the amount of materials you have to gather. The one advantage is that I actually had completed a grant for this property previously. That was rejected. It was not a development, but it was an acquisition grant when we purchased the property. So Some of the information like the survey maps and some of that documentation's already been done.
Property description.
But as far as the reporting requirements, besides the reimbursement claims, like I said, you also material purchases all have to be bid out. So it's a lengthy process just to do the project because you are bidding everything else. So if you're buying, road base or gravel, or you can actually use stuff you have on site, but you have to prove that you purchased it using a bid previously, unless it's reclaimed material. So, but there is a lot of documentation. I mean, I probably can't tell you specifically what it all is, but I can send you exactly what it is because there is a reimbursement booklet that you get for, sending all the information out.
The only reason why I'm asking this is I'm wondering if it's worth the hassle going through. So I just apologize for asking so many questions, but just wanted to get.
No, I think it's.
And that's what we really are trying is to get some feedback because, when the board found out how we're tied to these grants in perpetuity, it really ties our hands to do anything with the property or the building or whatever it's used for in the future.
It's gonna be a park.
Right.
So we're not gonna move the shelter. And it probably would help if you had changed the wording from forced labor to volunteer paid labor. And you might be more successful.
Lauren is volunteering to work there.
Small attempt at.
Thanks, Lauren.
Yep.
Lauren is too old.
Yeah.
What do you think the cost is gonna be?
Well,
Just using what he mentioned, the parking lot, but D90 trails that I can play with.
yes,
A gravel parking lot?
briefly talked about it. I mean, you're probably talking 100,000, 150,000, depending on if you're paving anything. I mean, the entry road and part of the parking lot has already been done. I mean, over the past 2 years, staff had worked out there in the winter and put in the entry road and back to the parking lot area. So it really would be a lot of brushing, installation of wood chips because a lot of it's wetland, so we want to be able to add fill. So some of the areas would be wood chip paths. The other ones, depending on what people prefer, could be granite or wood chips also, but it's just a lot of brushing and hand labor, clearing. Because the people who, Prohaska's previously had that all mowed, they had passed in between all the ponds. They kept it up until a few years before we purchased it. So, I mean, it basically is a great passive use park because it has all the natural features that would typically be like a county park because of the ponds, et cetera. You do have the plantation area where they had the nursery stock, but you also have a natural hardwoods on the east side too. And it adjoins other property that the village actually owns, with the driving range. So, I mean, if there's plans in the future to expand it or change the use of all the property that's available there are options because it literally touches Zinser all the way to Ryan Street.
Would we have to bring somebody from the outside for the look, for the design, or is this something internally that staff could do?
I think if we tried to do it for this year's grant application process, it would have to be done internally. We won't be able to do a master plan. It would just be,
But it'd be less of an ask too.
figuring out how many feet of trails we want to put in and then, estimate off a per foot trail price for brushing and installation. And Keith and I and Mike will talk about it a little bit, but, it's probably something we could estimate as far as the cost.
Okay, thank you. Good questions.
Snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, bicycle, good for
Do you fish on the ponds?
Okay. I pardon about everybody talking while you were talking, so I'm just gonna say it, so. Please. It's gonna wow us, John. You gotta wow us.
Okay, I'll try.
A little more emotion, because Clay is kind of deadpan, yeah.
Having a good time right now, I bet. So the calls for service for the month of February, we were at almost 1,700 for Adams Metro. The village was just shy of 1,300. So very similar stats to January. I will highlight a few of those more significant cases that we ran into. We did have 2 juvenile runaways who had a history of running away, boyfriend, girlfriend situation. They had stolen a family member's vehicle, and typically in their past runaway situations, they would return shortly after. This one stretched out to a month. So obviously there was some concern there, especially juveniles on the run with a stolen vehicle. Eventually we tracked him down to Florida. So,
How juvenile?
14 and 16.
Oh, yeah.
Tracked him down to Florida. There was some logistic nightmares on holding them in Florida, and trying to get cooperations with other agencies sometimes is difficult. So there was some hurdles there. Eventually, I think they just returned last week. They actually were flown to Chicago. And it was actually then the county's responsibility to go pick them up at O'Hare Airport. So now one of them is at our secured facility and the other one is on a ankle monitor, but that was, you know, we had not seen something like that before. They were gone for a month and driving around in a stolen vehicle, and took a month to find them. So we also recently apprehended a double homicide suspect from Texas. Actually, the marshals were here a couple of weeks ago looking for him and had intel that he had some ties to the 6300 Birch Street Trailer Park community. They spent a few days following their leads that they had. They knew that he had been in this area, but was not currently in the area when they were out searching for him. And just so happened about a week ago, we got a call about a possible sighting of him, and no U.S. Marshals were here, so it was our officers that were working that night that were able to apprehend him with success and no issue, no incident after the arrest. So
He was a very, very bad person.
yeah, we definitely wanted him out of this community. So, but that it ended well for him and for us. So that was successful. We don't see that often. Double homicide suspects from Texas. I think it was cartel drug related. We recently had a pretty significant injury crash on Highway 29 and County Road J. I think there was some confusion from the media on them saying it happened near Schofield. It actually was not in our jurisdiction. We did assist initially at the scene on the call because it came out for 29 and J, which is in our jurisdiction, but it was actually further east than that. So we did not have any involvement other than just an initial response, but that was not reported correctly in the media. Some staffing updates. We do have a conditional offer to a young man from Medford. He graduated the police academy, North Central, or NTC, in December. We are currently finishing his background and his physical and psych. Everything's going well with that, so we're anticipating his start date to be April 4th, which would actually finally put us at full staff. It'd be 30 officers, and then 20 of those officers are assigned to the road. We have not been running with a community service officer since April of last year when Crew Mua left. We had decided not to fill that position until we were fully staffed on the road because we had some definite needs on the road first. Now that we have the 30th officer hired, we ran some interviews last week for filling the community service officer. We had 3 patrol officers who submitted their letter of interest for the position. 2 of those officers have less than a year on in our department. The 3rd officer had about 2.5 years on. It's a appointed position, it's not a promotion. So it's a special assignment that gets appointed by the chief. His position was given to Eric Solberg, who came to us from Merrill. He does have less than a year on at our department, but he had almost 10 years on at Merrill and did some of the same duties while he was with Merrill. So he will be well served. He starts sometime in April, probably like around April 11th. We'll finally have somebody in that deputy service position.
We have 2 from now, right? Did we hire 2 in several months or no?
Not both from Merrill.
No?
And then just some officer recognition. 3 of our officers have recently been recognized state and nationally. from the incident in April of last year on Fergie Streets, the homicide which led to the officer-involved shooting. Those 3 officers were nominated for an award through the Wisconsin Professional Police Association for Award of Valor, which they will receive at banquets, which is one of the top awards that you can receive as an officer. They will receive that awards at an April 30th banquet at the Wisconsin Dells. That's from the Wisconsin Professional Police Association. They also received a award that they were nominated for nationally, Top Cops Award, which will be given to them during National Police Week in Washington DC on May 12th. Only 67 cops out of 21 states are receiving that award.
All 3 or 1?
All 3.
All 3, yep. And 1 was a rookie at the time. 7 weeks or something?
Weeks on.
Yeah.
So national and state honors there. Tomorrow is obviously March 22nd, the 5-year anniversary of the tragic events. We are having a short remembrance ceremony at the police department at 10 a.m. It is open to the public. There should be several law enforcement agencies present for that. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, John. Any questions or any discussion? Thank you very much. We're
I
gonna.
think you skipped over planning and development, or did I miss something?
Yes, I did. I was gonna save her for last. No, Jen, go ahead. Well, he keeps staring at me like, are you gonna call on me? You gonna call on me? And I thought, well, I gotta get John out of the way, so. Jen, you're up. Sorry about that.
The report in, as Keith said, we do have the TIF, public hearing for TIF 2, Tuesday next week. It'll be here in the boardroom at 6 o'clock. It's actually, a joint meeting. The Plan Commission will hold the public hearing. And if they approve, then the board will be asked to also, adopt, I believe it's a resolution. I have to look at that yet. And get that set up. And we did schedule a joint review board meeting for Monday, just to talk to them again. Because the last time that we met with them was October. So that went out today. And then we will be looking at scheduling if the TIF amendment goes through, another meeting with the joint review board, prior to April 15th.
Right, okay. Good, thank you. Sorry about that. Public Works?
I apologize, I can give you street stuff. Michael's the guru when it comes to the sewer and water and things, so. There's some items coming up in the agenda down here, approval of contracts for public works as far as streets go. Forced labor, that would be streets department helping parks.
Thanks for volunteering.
Yeah, there you go. It's forced, it's forced. Yeah.
I don't know if anybody has anything else for public works regarding streets.
We're gonna get that, the bridge resurfaced, in spring probably?
It is riding smoother after plowing over, but yeah, they are on the hook to come back this spring yet and address that.
Okay, good.
Yep, she's not a done deal yet.
Okay. Technology, this is a rare event, and we have it on the agenda, and he's here. Awesome, I'm just teasing.
Excuse me, the item of report, question.
Okay, any questions for Nate? No, you're off the hook. You know, I was at Cornwater with Keith a couple meetings ago. And I just want to say this because, I mean, if you've done your report and you know, like John and Josh, whatever, and you know, or Sean, whatever, unless you want to stay, but it's not awkward if you leave. So I just, because there's no way I would be staying. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's fine, but we do have an item later on the agenda about East Nick.
Oh, okay,
That'd be
then that's
nice
fine.
if we had some
Yeah.
input from you.
Oh, yeah, actually, never mind what I said.
If you would like, but if you would like to move that up on the agenda, you
Yep.
could do that.
No, no, I'm just gonna force them to stay. You know, if Parks can do it, you know, why can't we do it? So. Okay, well, I'm gonna run out of that one all night. All right, so we're done there. Reports from departments. Nate?
I think we need to have a motion to acknowledge items
I
20.
said it.
Did you?
I'm delivering that right now. I said
Okay.
that, go.
Well, Lauren was
I'm on it.
mid-sentence.
I'm on it, yeah.
Motion to acknowledge 20 through 22, 24 through 28.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Nate. We have a motion and a second. Anything else on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. Work product transmittals, February building permits, February budget status report, to slow down, preliminary December 21 budget status report.
Move to acknowledge items 29, 30, and 31 concurrently.
Motion by Feeny,
Second.
second by Ermeling. Any more in the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. All right, now, where is that Nick Avenue?
It's under new business, I think it's the last item. maybe?
Well, consent, we can grab this whole section here though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so, under consent agenda, we've got, obviously a request, but 33 through 39.
So moved.
So moved, okay, by, Thong,
Second.
second by Feeny. Any more on the question on 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. What number is that?
No, it's actually number 61 on the agenda.
Oh, would everybody be in favor if we brought 61 forward?
No objection.
No objection? Okay, 61 is now forward. 61, letter to Village of Cornwall letter regarding maintenance of East Nick Avenue.
So I attached, as part of the backup on this particular report, email that I had sent the Cornwall Village Administrator Richard Downey about our concerns with their having issued a building permit in Cornwall for a property that is on a part of Nick Avenue that really is not improved for all weather purposes. We had, and I know Dan has been keeping in touch with the people that are on this lot, and he's very familiar with the whole situation, but I guess the intent was for us to get together and talk to Cornwall and come up with a memorandum of understanding, conditions of, who's gonna be responsible for what parts of the improvement. Because capital cost on this part of on this street, which is a boundary street, should really be a shared thing between the two communities. And we've already done that in the past under a prior administrator down there and different board, but this has also tied itself in with the whole discussion about connecting Nick to J. And that's really not the issue here. The issue is just making sure that this road gets improved to the point it needs to get improved as people are starting to live down there. So I guess the intention was that if this wasn't done, we didn't have some agreement, we're not gonna go out there and do maintenance on it if it gets all rutted up, like we had to do, I don't know when that was, 2012, it was a real mess. So I guess the reason I wanted to make sure that the public safety providers are aware, we want to put this responsibility on Cornwall to do any maintenance if there's issues during the frost out period here. Now, I'm sure they can argue that, yeah, we've taken this on and we're responsible to do it, but I just think as a matter of principle on this, we wanted to notify them. I guess my thought was we probably need to notify those residents that would be affected by this. I think it's really only that new home going up right now, but I thought they had issued another permit down there too.
Another one?
Did I understand that?
Yeah, it says in your email too.
Okay, there's a little history here. I mean, it started on the corner and then another one gradually, but nothing on Village of Weston side. So nothing on the north side of Nick. I believe there's 3 or 4. And then there's a building, somebody must have some storage and some land out there. And then now there's this new one that it actually just happened that Scott Tatro and myself and Keith went for a ride one day. We just drove around for a couple hours and we went out there in Nick, and at the time, our grader was out there and the gentleman that left and went to American Asphalt was on it and doing this whole course. And I'm telling you, it's scary. I can't imagine turning some equipment around out there. I have no idea where you do it. And or if you sink in it.
I drove down there today.
Good, thank you.
And granted, it's that time of year, but I would be pretty nervous about taking a couple of our trucks down there right now. I mean, I was just driving my little pickup truck through there and it was soft. I mean, I think our tender weighs almost 70,000 pounds and I'd be really nervous about taking that down there and I would not take our ladder truck down that road right now. Now, our ladder truck wouldn't be needed for anything that's down there, but the tender certainly would be. It's a non-hydrant area and I'd be really nervous about taking it down there right now. I'm pretty sure you'd get stuck.
I've had a discussion with Chris Ball, President of Colonel Water, and Keith and I talked to Richard and went back and forth with some emails, and we had a meeting set up, and then I actually had to cancel it. But I mean, it's almost like they're just, I don't think it's intentional, but they're approving these permits, and it's just bizarre that they're doing this. And I mean, we're on tape right now. I mean, I've had this discussion with Chris and Richard, and so has Keith. I mean, it's come to an end that we're responsible for everything. I feel like that's almost a liability, you know, that we're gonna get a call from a Corona Water resident, or we're gonna get a call from a Corona Water staff person telling us, hey, you gotta get out there, they can't get through the road. Oh, really? You know, I mean, I don't wanna be a stinker here, we wanna all get along with our neighbors, but my heavens, we gotta come to some agreement here.
Just out of curiosity, that if I could just ask a question. I mean, I think it's Ross Avenue, Birch Street, or I'm trying to remember what all these different projects that we have that we get these grants for.
Yeah.
Why isn't this, why can't we get a 90% grant on this like we've gotten for other projects? And
Because you can't use grant money for new construction essentially. I don't think this would qualify. I don't think this would qualify.
No?
It's more like a total rebuild.
It's like building a bridge to nowhere, you know, they want the money to go to something that's there and not for some unknown or some prospective future purpose, I guess.
You know, without punching that road through, and it's only what did we figure, a quarter mile?
It's another,
or did we?
mile and a half.
Oh,
All the way to Jake?
Yeah.
what?
No,
We're looking at it.
No, to the village boundary.
Yeah, oh, okay, then it's got
And
Town
there's
of Reed
another
and.
3/4 of a mile,
yeah,
I think, from
okay.
there.
Boy, it sure seemed closer by eyesight, so.
Could you elaborate what you mean or what's meant by all weather
Well,
for the roads?
this time of year, frost out, you know, you have.
Sync up to your axles and no time flies.
I moved here in 81, and I've been on that road at least 100 times. I don't know why. But I go back there, I know the Cherok's back there, I know some other people back there. I don't know why I'm so enthralled just to drive to the end of it, figure out how to spin around and come back. And then I look at all the beer cans and all the other crap back there, no, it's not what either one of you are thinking. And, but I mean, it's not even a safe, I mean, to turn around, right now, without punching that road through, you should have a cul-de-sac. You really should. I mean, otherwise you're gonna be in somebody's driveway and then what's their condition gonna be? But I've seen that road so, you know, I've had Jeeps that have been out there and I might have been maybe rutting it up a little bit too. And,
There's a rough cul-de-sac.
yeah, but,
I think Dan
it's-
had a comment to make.
yeah, I'm sorry, Dan, go ahead.
We put a 8-foot barricade with a road closed sign up there today.
Oh, good.
We're not barricading the road closed completely because Tyler Groshek is the name of the gentleman that's building the house.
Yep.
He's got it roughed in now. He's got a long ways to go. I stopped and talked to him. He's not real concerned as far as them being able to access the house at this point to work on it. Okay. He did mention that they own a lot of property there and some of the relation are the ones that are looking at also building.
Yep.
We put the barricade up today with the road closed and I talked to John about this to keep the Jeep people out of there.
Yeah, exactly.
So they
Are
don't
you
go
right
by
past
the-
his, how far past his driveway are you with the barricade?
Oh, no, the barricade is where the piece of the road was rebuilt last. That's where the barricade is.
I don't know where that is.
Okay, all you gotta do is go drive it and you'll see it where the good gravel ends and it goes to just rotten granite.
Is it past his driveway?
No, it's to the west of them.
Really? So how does he get to his place? He just.
No, it's just a barricade saying road closed, and the purpose of it is that unless you have property there, we really don't want you rooting around in there because it's gonna get really.
Still passable, but for everybody else, don't go with it.
There was 5 feet of frost in the roads this winter, just to let you know, so it's gonna be a while before that thing firms up.
Wow. I'm sorry, Barb.
Yeah, I guess if we don't maintain that part that it belongs to us, right? It belongs to the village.
Half and half.
Half and half, okay. Yeah, that's right. I didn't know if that part of it was or wasn't. What are we liable? Does Cronenwetter do anything on it?
I haven't done anything on
So
there.
this is where, another one, if you go to all of our boundary streets, we're probably gonna have similar things where we don't have long-term agreements. It's like handshake agreement, we're gonna plow this street and you plow that street and, but, this is a more unusual situation. It's unimproved. It's really a logging road.
It's a logging road.
And it's a hell of a hike,
Improved
don't know
over
what,
time.
a hell of a hike to get over there, where we're right here, But we've just kind of assumed that we're good neighbors, nobody's buying us coffee.
And
But we got, we got a grader up there for heaven's sakes, up and down, making it beautiful, but then it gets torn apart.
So we've done things with the village of Rothschild and Alderson and with Schofield on.
Maintaining Cronenwetter's half, too?
Pardon?
Yeah, we've been maintaining the logging road.
Okay, yeah. Because, I can't think of his last name now, Ted used to work at the mill, he used to own some of that property there and he sold it.
Well, I know a lot of the owners on our side, for quite a way. But the last house that got permitted out there, I thought, come on, are you kidding? But now this last one here, and boy, what a super guy. We're out there, I don't know, it's 4 or 5 people out there. We're talking for half an hour, and nice people. And then he started telling us the same thing you found out, Dan, with a lot of relation out there and a lot of them. He actually doesn't want it improved. He likes it nice and quiet back there and.
So are they're building on Cronenwetter's side?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because I'm saying we're not given any.
Oh, it's a sizable house, it's a big house. 3-car garage at least, maybe a shop.
Originally, they were that was owned by Ambrose. And
Yes.
He was looking
Yeah.
at putting it
Yep.
as a golf course, would have been
That's right.
maybe,
That was his grandpa or father?
I think it might be his grandpa.
Yeah, because
But
he
it was,
brought
it
him
was
up.
supposed to be around 15 years ago.
Mhm.
And then, he owned a number of properties. They did a bunch of duplexes, on the bird side of Rib Mountain and stuff. He was very active in all of that stuff, but, then Ambrose died and then the family was left, selling stuff off.
Wasn't there a Ted Fidelco, didn't he own?
The paper mill used to own a lot of land out there.
Yeah, Ted Fidelco, I thought he owned, because we actually looked at it at one point. And that's a wooded area.
Very heavily wooded.
But I
So-
think they've logged off. There has been logging back in there. I can't remember when, but I know it was in the last few years.
I know George Zinsser had quite a bit of land back there, maybe John too. I just remember, we took some equipment in there and had the whole cutting thing sideways as a town when I was a supervisor. And we really hacked it up pretty. George was in here spitting.
I think,
Mr. Donner, wouldn't we send them a proposal with the cost on it? Say, okay, this is our share, that's your share to build the road? Or we have.
It doesn't really help, it doesn't fix it doesn't solve the situation right now. I guess we don't wanna be on the hook to go down there and fix it in a situation where this is an emergency either. Are you suggesting that we rebuild it during a frost out period or something here?
No, well, it is not something gonna happen overnight, but at least you can propose to them. It is like a corner with Rothschild and Weston Avenue, from Alderson to Birch Street. It took, I would say, as long as I remember, at least 15 years to build that road. So we proposed to them several times and they didn't do it, or they went halfway through, they said, no, we're not gonna do it. I'm talking about Weston Avenue.
Yep, we wanted to get out of the snow events. And at least, so it's somewhat passable, but somebody, like you said, if somebody goes through that barrier, you won't be able to get through. So we just pound away on some more emails, I guess, and see, but we thought it might be the best response.
What is their response to solve this problem?
None.
They don't respond very regularly. I do think they're trying to avoid it.
Well, what Richard told us at the first meeting, that when Al Opel and I and Keith Longahan went out there on the contract for Safer, I had a talk with Chris and Richard, and Richard was told not to have any more discussions with Keith. The board is a little sideways right now, and because they don't want to do Nick Avenue at all, because they believe we want it so bad that we'll do it by ourselves. And no, I'm saying this, and so everybody can hear it, whoever was watching this or wants to watch the tape, that's exactly what was told to me in their village board meeting, after the meeting. So, that we want it so bad that we'll do it ourselves.
Well, does it matter to us if those houses aren't even on our land?
Correct. So Chris wants to talk with Richard and their public works, who happens to be Dwayne Gow. And so we trying to have a meeting with them three, Keith, myself, and Michael.
Whatever happened to the discussion of extending out to Jay?
That's what they don't want to talk about, because they think we want it so bad, we'll pay for it ourselves.
Because it was.
They'll get the benefit of
Gary
that.
kind of build something out there?
He still wants to, and he'll still pay some money towards it.
There's two other townships that would be involved in that.
Town of Reed and Town of Ringo, yep.
So much for being neighborly.
I'm gonna make a motion
Thank
to recommend the Board of Trustees authorize the village administrator to notify Chronoweather that Weston will suspend maintenance of East Nick Avenue, east of 3895, East Nick to East Nick's eastern terms, until terms of an agreement or MOU have been adopted describing each municipality's responsibilities for East Nick Avenue.
I'll emphatically second that.
I don't know how to spell emphatically, so we have to figure that out. So we have a motion by Zong and a second by Feeny. Any more in the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. Thank you, everybody, for bringing that to a screeching halt. All right, 61, so we're going back to 41. Ordinances. Ordinance number 22-007. An ordinance amending sections 94.10.03 of the zoning code relating to design standards for multifamily and non-residential buildings, and 94.10.04 large retail and commercial service development standard. What's your pleasure?
So moved.
Moved by Zong,
Second.
second by Feeny. Any more on the discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
The discussion, go ahead.
I have just a question. In there, the section that deals with loading docks.
What was what?
Loading docks.
Yep.
There's a section where there's a change made in there?
Yes.
When was that brought up to the planning commission? I may have been asleep that meeting. but-
Gary brought it up.
Pardon?
Gary brought it up?
On the phone? Okay. I don't remember that either. I thought a lot of that was gonna get brought up at a different meeting when he was here.
Okay,
But
that's the only question I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we're changing something that he brought up on the phone when he was in the airport?
Yes.
Or no, yes? Okay,
That was discussed at planning.
It was discussed, yes.
okay.
Can I ask for clarification then? So the planning commission did vote to remove that as well, do they?
I believe so, yes.
Yes.
Okay. You sure?
Any more in the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 42, ordinance number 22-008. An ordinance to amend Article 78-2, numeral 2, Roman number 2, Section 78.102, imposition of tax, and Section 78.110, permit.
Move to approve.
To approve by Feeny,
Second.
second by White. Anything on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 43, ordinance number 22-009. An ordinance to amend Article 10-1, animal control and licensing, Section 10.121, licenses required. Motion by Zagami,
Second.
second by Feeny. On the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Ordinance number 22-010, an ordinance to approve the rezoning of a parcel of land, 2405 Jelnik Avenue from B1 Neighborhood Business to INT Institutional Zoning District, Village of Weston, Marathon County, Wisconsin.
Move to approve ordinance number 22-010, a rezone request for DCFS district properties at 2405 Jelnik Avenue for plan commission recommendation.
I'll second that.
Motion by White, second by Manel.
Point of order, trustee White, is the assumption option 1 for recommended language? There's approve and then approve with modifications.
Option one.
Thank you.
For the clarification.
Now that we're all clarified, any more in the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 45, ordinance number 22-011, an ordinance to amend Article 82-V, all-terrain vehicle and utility terrain vehicle routes and operation on highways within the village of Weston. Section 82.504, designation of all-terrain and utility terrain vehicle routes.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Zagami.
I'll second.
Second by Feeny. Any more on the discussion?
On the question, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. White, trustee White.
I am a little concerned that I've been on these I've sat in on most of these meetings where these changes been made and piecemeal by piecemeal, we're adding more and more area to the village for ATV, UTV routes. My question is, when is this gonna stop? And if it's not, I mean.
You go to Merrill right now and they drive everywhere.
That's Merrill.
No, Merrill's fine. Merrill's fine. We have a resident sitting right here right now.
So I'm wondering when we're
He's
gonna
on the
have
front lawn.
the point where I can hop on my ATV, I don't have one, from my house and drive
Come in, watch,
a quick trip or.
instead of following the sidewalk.
How'd you get to the recycling thing from my house?
Well, I mean, I'm sure these groups are seeing a little bit more. Is it gonna be completely reckless abandon? I doubt that.
One of the things that I did request at the previous Public Works Committee meeting is that we do have one big meeting with all of the other groups and come together for some sort of total, or one-time passage, for opening up roads so that we do stop doing this piecemeal by piecemeal. And Deputy Director Raczkowski actually forwarded or sent me an email laying out sort of the process for about how to make trails added to the trail system.
If I could just explain
ahead.
in just
Yeah.
a second, actually, the day when I emailed that to you, Judy, I can't pronounce her last name because it's longer than my Polish last name. But she was in here asking about other trails. She wanted to talk to Michael, he was busy.
Sure.
She's gonna be coming back probably with some more streets in the village that they're looking to possibly add.
Probably connecting streets and stuff.
Kinda, yeah. I don't wanna speak for her. I gave her a map. And she was gonna talk to some other people that were looking to have some other ones added. I talked to Michael about it. You know, however, you decide on this one is standalone, but it's kind of going where Nate's going. And what I forwarded to him was anytime the maps, I went to the county and asked them if they could update their map to include the streets that are in the village. They said before they do that, they need approved ordinances and it has to go through law enforcement, which would mean Everest Metro, Marathon County and State Patrol.
Okay.
Before they put it on their map.
Yep, Lauren?
I think perhaps I'm a little prejudicial on this issue because in my previous life as a police officer, I can remember the complaints we got about mini bikes and snowmobiles and we did not have enough time nor speed or ability to catch these little kids on mini bikes off the road. If you wanted to smash up at the time a $15,000 squad car, that's how long ago it was. But it's just frustrating me to see that I said enough.
That's all?
I noticed that under the committee action here, it says that the Public Works approved this with the contingents upon EMPD's concurrence.
Yep.
They did vote in support, they're in support of it as well too then?
Well, I mean, okay, so we're talking about, I actually just bought one. I can't believe I have one, but I do. And, but I can't drive it on the road, but these little $400 scooters that can, push me around at about 13 miles an hour, those are fine. You can license those.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you, all day long, I'd rather be on a four-wheeler. Either exposed with no canopy or a canopy than that little teeny scooter. All day long. And those scooters are becoming more and more popular, especially with the gas going up. I bet you're gonna see a lot more out there this year. So just a thought. I'm just playing it out there. They're not as loud. They just, putt.
I can go down my road and I could go down Callan but I can't get over to the recycling site. I got a UTV with a dump.
Yeah.
And I just would love to get over there, but I can't get over there with it. I gotta,
Okay,
have a truck and I've got a truck.
so, do we have a motion and a second, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Any more in the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All that for that. Resolution 46, resolution number 2022-007, a resolution to amend the village fee schedule.
Move to approve modifications to section 10.03 subsection 6 of the employee. No,
Hang on.
I'm sorry, I'm at the wrong one. My
This
bad.
is a rare thing happening here right now. Just, I want everyone just to stop and pause.
It's 46.
Front page news in the Herald tomorrow. I'll let someone else take that.
You're so kind here.
It's all right, I know. I don't have supper waiting, so I'm here all night.
Is that a motion, Nate?
He's gonna
rephrase it.
We're gonna, just a little pause, he's gonna do it, just watch. Go ahead.
Well,
Grab-
I'm trying to find it, but.
You can say motion to approve.
Yeah, move to approve, there we go.
Second by
I'll second it.
by Zon. And any more in the discussion?
This is concerning animal licensing and the private well permit.
Correct. So hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Unfinished business, update on American Rescue Plan ARPA funds. Do you have an update? Or it's in black, not blue? I mean, unless the color is just for the heck
So
of
I
it.
had the PowerPoint that we presented to this committee. I thought I would just present that quick.
Okay.
Get that. Thanks. So what we talked about at the finance committee is we're getting closer to the point where we need to decide on kind of like a good process. What do we want to do with the funds, but also the process to move forward with it. Next page.
There was a good discussion at finance on this. And I believe all the departments, like you said, the public safety and everybody else should all follow the same course.
Right, so, ARPA funds is one of the largest, strings attached grant that we received, since I can remember. And the final rule offers a lot of flexibility. Thanks. But with any federal grant, there are rules that we have to follow. So the village did allow us to hire Baker Tilly to assist in making sure that the village has all the rules in place to spend these funds. Next. There's a lot of best practices out there, so if you go around online, you can Google it. Some of the best practices I noted are spend the funds on non-reoccurring items, do not spend the funds on expenditures that you normally budget for, like the tax levy. Do not invest in something that requires future funds. And the last is be aware of community efforts to make the dollar go further. Something to think about when we're deciding what kind of projects we want. We can either move towards a direction that we want to spend all our money at one time and put it towards large projects. A street project, we could get a mile of road for 2 million or 1.7. It doesn't go far. If you want to spend all on a street project, you could do that. The other idea is the utility project. There's a ton of projects out there already that we have in the queue that we could put them towards. Next. There's also smaller projects, park equipment. A lot of our parks equipment is getting old and needs a refresh. There's also the park development. We talked about the federal grant for Prahasta. If it's not that much, maybe we just want to use our ARPA funds. We believe there's less strings attached with these ARPA funds. Whenever we use them, we'll get verification of that. But as far as the information I've seen so far, there's a lot less strings. We would like to use some ARPA funds for a park development. Next. Ideas for operations. Is it a possibility that we take small portions of these funds and put it towards items that were not budgeted, such as outside contracted services, a grant writer to get us more grant funds, the strategic planning, a compensation study. We can use it for scanning of documents. We're planning a big move. We don't want to take all our paper. Can we use some of the funds to scan the documents before we move? And any other unbudgeted items that deem necessary. The possibilities are endless, so we could allocate an amount to specific uses, or we could allocate a percentage. So far, of the $2.2 million, the board has allocated $220,000 to Arts Metro, $220,000 to Safer, and they allowed $5,000 for the bigger utility services, leaving us about $1.775. Next. Evaluating requests and responsibilities. How do we want the approval process to spend these funds? Do we want every single request to go through the board? Is there a dollar threshold that we could allow the administrator to approve? That all should be ironed out when we come to that final document of the policy we want to follow for these funds. Next. And just develop a strategy. So those that were at the finance committee meeting, they had a lot of great discussion. For the next meeting, we're planning on bringing the 5-year CIP. So their thing is, what kind of ideas are there that we could spend these funds on, like large one-time things, and then also relieve our taxpayers because we won't be borrowing for that. So offering taxpayer relief, but still getting some nice items for the village as a whole. Is there any other discussion on this?
Well, first of all, your presentations have been upgraded like the last year maybe. Well, they're kind of neat. I'm a little troubled that the bottom says Nate Crow's screen on every one. So I don't know if he's actually doing it or you and Jenna are doing it, but he's taking credit. A month ago in the League of Municipalities magazine, there was a really good article in there, and I can't remember the community, but there was a community that was highlighted for about 2 pages. I saved it, now I can't find it at home, I was gonna bring it in, but I'm sure there's several copies here. And it showed how they did it, how they allocated funds. Do you remember?
No,
Oh,
I don't.
But I mean, Artdale or some, I think that one sounds the most familiar, but it said what they did. They put those measuring things in place. And you know, when I don't know what I'm thinking, but I'll tell you, when you said parks is a positive thing. And it's gonna be a positive thing left. You know, we had talked about water utility, and I know we need safe water. I don't think that would pay for everything, or a road. But a park, that's positive. And if you decide not to use it, that's your choice. But it is something that everyone can use in the village.
As long as we don't require a lot of maintenance to it.
Yeah, very much. I mean, I'm all about that. I've been talking about that for a long time too. But you know, this sounds kind of like a rough and, you know, walking, and I would assume hopefully not too much paved, but you know, a little bit of maintenance here and there. But I thought that'd be neat. I mean, I think that'd be kind of neat. And then League of Municipalities, that's it. Go ahead.
One thing I just wanna, obviously with the whole PFAS that's happening around the local area here, I just want us to be prepared in case the results comes back and we do have PFAS. So just so that we're being cognizant of being proactive as well too. I'm not saying that we should save the money for it, but I'm definitely saying that we should just be prepared in case it does come.
I can't imagine not.
There could be some extra funding that they make available for that. We had sounded like for Wausau even, that this is another one of those bipartisan infrastructure bill targets, I guess, if you will. Water projects,
you know,
PFAS response.
Keith and I had a lot of discussion on this, and it's a little hard to wrap around it, but it's amazing how we do all these things and we do all these recycling and, you know, yippee, just constant stuff about recycling. Yet we deliver 100% of the water to all these homes across the nation for drinking. And we probably use what'd you say, 7 to 5% for drinking? And
If that.
You flush it,
1%
you wash it, you put it on your lawn, you name it, you let it warm up for the shower, and yet it's all drinkable. It's all to that degree. Somebody should come up with some way of not wasting all this time and effort and chemicals and energy to make it that and make 10% drinking. I mean, honest to God, I think it'd be cheaper to deliver water to the home. And then have everything else, just don't cook it, don't, unless you have a filter on your fridge or something, I don't know. But it's just silly that we're treating all this water and we're flushing it, and we're washing it, it's just, I wash my car, I water the lawn, it's unbelievable that we do this.
In Florida, they have what, I can't remember the term, but it's actually, well, it's treated for bacteria type stuff, but they use it for watering. Gray water. It's just,
It just amazes me when we,
pay for it, but the rate is way down compared to, regular. Their water that goes into the house is their drinking water, basically. I mean, well, they flush the toilet, but that water is then taken back and made safe for putting on your lawns and fields.
it just, it's mind boggling for me, for all that energy wasted.
I think that's kind of.
So I lost complete train of thought here. Somebody help.
If anyone has any ideas,
Oh, yeah,
you can
that's where we are.
email,
ARPA.
bringing something back to finance, so, or just open for ideas, recommendations.
Well done.
I think we should also look at the city of Wausau's process as well too, and see if we can implement something along their lines. They have kind of like a grant process in place for high potential ideas, but just throwing that out there as well.
Okay, I really thought that article, I don't know if anybody else gets that, I think we all do, right? I know I've seen several here, but you should, if you haven't read that.
February edition or
It's the one that has on, Yee's name in there in every one. I just noticed like 8 months ago, I didn't even realize that you're a director.
I'm not finding the old, or the prior.
But it's we're in March, it's gotta be February or January, but it was a really good article, and I thought it was well written. Okay, number 48, modification to section 10.03, parent 6, employee cell phone stipend reimbursement. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Ermeling, second by Feeny. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Me.
No.
Domino.
Okay, so it's a 6 and 1. Lionel is a no, and, okay. 49, exterior upgrades and possible additional interior upgrades to the public safety building.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is this the last kick at the can? We've discussed this, I think we've discussed this for almost a year now, hasn't it?
Not, maybe a year. It's been, I don't think,
Mid-year last
the
year.
architect
maybe.
could get at it.
Okay, so I thought,
The last time it was like tops at about 220, I thought.
I regret that we didn't have this up.
Last time in October, it was 700,000 to 740.
Okay.
680.
And now we're at 1.1,
So-
1.2.
What we were not confirmed was whether or not we included all the areas, because there had been a couple different walkthroughs, separate walkthroughs with public safety and with, I should say with Safer and with EMPD, and then we also took another walkthrough with trustees Agami.
That was my next question. Has Shane looked at it? Okay, good.
So there's a plan view of the building as I think that the last item in the attachment. And that just shows you the areas that are included in this estimate. So the focus on this project at the beginning, from day one, was to reconfigure spaces that were not being used and provide the space that was needed for shower areas and locker rooms and some additional offices. Conference room, I know, was another part in the MPD space. So there was, and then remodeling of that second story, living quarters area for Safer. What got overlooked or neglected was looking at finishes in the office area for EMPD. Flooring and ceilings in the town area, and then also ceilings in the Safer area. So Scott and Roman took another walk through, because I think we weren't of the opinion that all the ceiling area in that town space needed attention. They said, they confirmed that yes, there were only probably some isolated amount. So there's actually $25,000 in the estimate for that ceiling. So the estimate's probably is overstated by that amount for sure. There's probably a few other minor adjustments that can be made. The intention though was to update the spaces, because flooring in the EMPD office area right now is, I think, ceramic tile in the hallways, and the estimate is to cover that actually with, rather than try to remove it, cover it with a different material. I think probably calls out what the material would be.
Yeah, the
That's in
town,
the estimate, but all the ceiling tiles, especially like in that main office area, are sagging down. They've been damaged by water or something over time. The other thing was replacing any lighting that's not currently LED lighting with LED lighting. Upgrades to HVAC in here. And repainting of the apparatus bay walls and the EMPD garage. So that's that blue outline, that dark blue outline area. In the case of EMPD, and dark red outline area for safer. There's also addition of a roof hatch to be able to access the roof for HVAC maintenance and so forth. So I guess we could take another look at this and see what we want to take out. I know, the painting, maybe a pricey item that's not necessarily needed, but we tried to cover everything that we could have conceived maybe was needed or desired. There's also some improvement included for the evidence building that's closest to the main building. There's some remodeling of that on the exterior. Make it match. The other one's gonna be left alone. In terms, so that's that one farther to the east. Wasn't proposed to do anything with that.
So do we have a figure? I mean, you're not quite, I know in the request for consideration, there was two figures listed, a high and a low.
Right.
So which one are we talking about?
If we're talking about budgeting for CIP, I would suggest using a higher one based on the comment here that prices have increased by as much as 30% since October.
so you're talking a higher one of 1158?
Right. So what needs to happen would be, if we wanna add this to our capital budget, we'd have to fit in this instead of other projects, which is, that's fine, we can do that.
Okay, so wait a minute, so this would all come out of capital projects? Oh. Okay,
Well, we could also use ARPA funds.
yeah, I know, well, I know, but not everybody can use it. You know, my neighbor I can't go use the evidence room, I can't store my guns there, I'd like to.
I would hope you're not wind up at the PD as a customer or as a.
I'm no kidding, no, I don't look good in orange, at all.
There would need to be a bid specification put together because the estimated amount is over $25,000 for the public works project.
What are we talking, start of next year or this year yet?
Oh, we'd get started on it right away.
Oh, okay.
We'd ask CUNY to revise their
So this,
scope and.
so this is no
Design.
other monies other than pull CIP and then move things around, stagger things in there, right?
Right, I mean, we're either gonna have CIP money, or if you wanna apply some ARPA money, that's the only other option.
Yeah. I'd rather not do it, ARPA, that's my opinion. Yeah. It's my opinion, I'd like it to be able to be touched by everybody in the.
I am just, I'm angry at myself for not asking further than when we first did this project, that we didn't make sure everything was included.
Well,
bad for me. I move to approve the completion of the village public safety building upgrades as presented for a cost not to exceed $1,158,000.
Motion by White, second by Shane on the question. The only question I have, and it doesn't pertain to the safety building, have we gone over and over and over and over the new building going up right now? I just don't want to get caught on
It's not a
this.
discussion and I want to make sure I do
It
that.
really makes me nervous.
As we talk with architect and the project manager with Myron.
Because this is a miss here, and it's a miss on the furniture. You know, it's kind of a miss. I mean,
Well, this is just this is not describing the scope.
Mhm.
You know, it's
Well, I know, but
probably
we,
on us as much as it was on them.
but we, 5 years ago, we had a $700,000 to $800,000, and I remember he had a question, he was very, scratching his head. How in the hell did this get to 1.8? Well, it wasn't apples to apples, we weren't buying the same piece of equipment. The scope of the project changed tremendously over 5 years. But for someone coming in, you didn't know that. How would you know? You think we're just throwing money around, And same thing with the furniture. I mean, I'm just pointing out a fact that, we've got a couple months here to make sure that everything is in the scope there. It troubles me a lot that this Rib Mountain group that messed up the doors over there at our safety building has also got this building. But anyway, all right, that's my little discussion. I'm sorry.
Oh, I agree with you.
Yep.
We gotta drill the scope to make sure everything is there.
Mhm.
However, what they're gonna do in there, especially inside, is ceiling tile, flooring, couple doors, some painting. I don't think they can really mess it up.
Right. Well, and I understand, I think Josh and John or somebody from each department was dovetailing in with these, right? To make sure we went over all this? Okay.
Because I'm really shocked that we got it,
Mhm.
with all the work, what did we cost us the first time?
Well, the second time actually was what, 1.7?
$1,700,000.
And now we got another million. I just,
Coming out of CIP.
well, that doesn't matter. It's
I know,
still coming out of,
I know.
we're not gonna do something else.
To make
now.
this
It's
happen.
gonna have to be,
We're gonna have to push it down the road.
I just look at this and I think, wow, how many million did it cost us just to remodel?
Well, I'm just gonna say because I was in that building an awful lot before we ever bought it. And it was a beer cooler, period.
Well, yes.
And we never actually conformed it to what we wanted it for. So, I mean, Lauren, you were there.
Yes, I was there with the architects.
I remember that was one of Wally's biggest things, that there is no way we're gonna miss this again and push this down the.
Likewise.
It's gotta get done.
Yeah, Mr. President, I'm gonna call the question.
Yep, done deal. We have a motion by White, second by Shane.
No, but
By Yee. No, I thought it was down.
he's calling for a motion is to call the question.
Oh,
That takes precedent.
Oh my God, this is half the problem. All right, so we have, did somebody second that motion?
Yes, I did.
You did. So we have a first and a second on the discussion, hearing none. All those in favor on calling the question, say aye.
Aye.
Yep.
Now on the matter.
Opposed? So carried. Now on the matter of approval. So first by White, second by Zagami.
Can you repeat it, please?
Sure. Go ahead.
I can repeat it if you'd like. Let me find it. Hey, if you need time to try to find it.
Not to exceed the 1.158.
Yeah, okay. Move to approve the completion of the village public safety building upgrades as presented for a cost not to exceed $1,158,000. That's both my motion.
And second by Zagami. On the question, it's been exhausted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right, new business, fencing at Kennedy Park.
That's fine.
We can't do it. We're finishing the safety building, sorry.
Mr. President,
I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve completing all fencing at Kennedy Park per the quotes with the village completing the removal for $54,058.
Motion by Zong. Second by Feeny. On the question. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Let's see, 51, urban forestry plan.
Move to approve the urban forestry plan for Parks and Recreation Committee recommendation.
Second.
Motion by White, second by Feeny. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Anything on discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 52, remove all inventoried ash trees due to emerald ash borer. Should we reword that? I mean, because that might mean removing thousands.
There's recommended language on
Okay.
242.
I'll just give a little punch.
They're gonna remove it in 3 years, I believe, so.
Okay. So motion by Sagami, second by Feeny. Anything more on the discussion? Hearing none?
This is just on Weston public property.
Correct. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 53.
Just if I could ask a question, are we replanting?
We are replanting, yes.
Yes.
What are you replanting to maple or?
Well, we actually are, you have a chance to review the urban forestry plan, and you see we have excess elms and excess maples. So we're planting different varieties at this point to change up the urban forest, basically. So if you, we're looking at, we already submitted the order for some of the replacements at Kennedy. And it's based on what's obviously available too. So once we get a response from them as far as what's available, we'll, plant it. But we do have some maples, but it's not, we have a ton of autumn blaze maples out there, and we have an excess as far as varieties right now, so.
How much is just average cost on a tree?
Right now, a 15-gallon pot for us is about $140.
And only because my dad, every tree in Appleton on their lot is taken from the field behind Kmart, and that was in Appleton. And they're beautiful trees, 50 years ago. Is there, could we, scavenge a few at Prohaska? I'm just thinking out loud. How hard would it be to get, I don't know, 15-gallon pot, so how big is that tree already?
A 15-gallon pot is typically an 8 to 10 foot high tree. It's about an inch and a quarter diameter.
That's what he brought home from Renault, on his Renault. Yep, out the hatchback. I couldn't believe it.
Well, if you've seen the effects of a tree that's grown in the forest over at the current new municipal center site, you would understand why bringing a tree out of the forest and planting it in a park or on a boulevard doesn't make sense. Because trees that are growing in the woods are shallow rooting because they have to compete for the moisture, so they spread out. They don't go as deep. So if you put them out in the wind or weather, they have a tendency to
I've been
a lot easier.
I've been educated. Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second, right?
I think so.
Yeah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Do we have that motion and second, right? Okay, thank you. Because I can't remember. 52, remove all 53, consideration to acquire property on Eau Claire River behind 3404 River Meadow Drive in Weston.
I move to not consider the purchase of the property behind 3404 River Meadow Drive, PIN number 082-2808-091-0992.
Second.
NOT, not.
Not.
Okay.
It's a landlocked parcel.
Motion to not by White, second by Feeny. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 54, 2022 crack sealing project. What's your pleasure?
I move to approve the 2022 crack sealing project to Precision Seal Coating for a total price of $69,200.
Motion by Ermeling,
Second.
second by Feeny. Someone please turn the heat up so Barb doesn't have to be wrapped up in that coat, please. Any more on the discussion?
I just want to express my deep appreciation to the Department of Public Works for going out for bids. It's always greatly.
Just-
Help saves our, let's say, hold this.
Go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I help save us money. Sorry, now you can go.
How come we don't use our own contract?
Okay, what?
Maybe I'm missing.
We're on
Pardon me on that?
54 crack sealing.
Oh, okay, I'm
Yep,
sorry.
sorry. Okay,
I'm good.
okay. No more on discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 55, 2022 GSB-88 project. Someone gonna make a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion by Feeny,
Second.
Second by Zagami. Anything else on this discussion?
$61,606.60.
Yes.
He whispered it to me. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 56, 2022 chip sealing project.
I'll move to approve the 2022 chip sealing project to Scott Construction for a bid price not to exceed $56,139.44
By White,
for the Public Works and Utility Committee recommendation.
by White again, second by Feeny. On the discussion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 57, 2022 asphalt overlay project.
Move to award the 2022 asphalt overlay project to RC Pavers based on their unit prices on the attached bid tab for items 1 through 5, items 7A and 7B, to pulverize and repave Kramer, as well as alternate bid 1 for milling butt joints and driveways for a total price of $223,247.75.
All right. By Feeny. Nothing by Feeny, second by White. Anything on the discussion?
Just a quick question here. I noticed that's $19,000 more than the estimated project. Just kind of curious as to how we ended up with with the $19,000 difference.
The director, your motion, why don't you answer that?
I will defer that to, Public Works Deputy Director.
Dan, you got it?
I'm sorry, you're asking what question?
It's we're
Why-
taking a
why is it
bid
more
that's
than
20,000
budgeted?
more than another bid.
I'm just curious.
Unless they're higher.
It was estimated at 200.
Estimated, I thought there was.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So you understand what happened, Kramer Lane originally, which actually came in cheaper, we're gonna end up milling it up, pulverizing it in place and relaying that. But yeah, the estimated cost to where it is, we should have been cheaper, I thought, without looking at.
I'm saying that the total bid price of $223,247.75 is $19,481.54, more than the estimate of $203,76.
Part of it is the prices that went up, albeit, when Michael estimated them till now, it's the cost of the oil. I got a call earlier today from American Asphalt, who was gonna do Ross Avenue. They wanna know as soon as possible when if this is approved, because they wanna lock in their oil prices right now.
I kind of figured so, but just wanted to clarify.
Yep, thank you. Good question. Hearing no more discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. I have 58 circled.
I
have 58 circled.
Just wanted to add that Director Odowski had pointed out that overall the estimate or the bids that came in on these projects for street maintenance are $500 under budget.
Okay, good. As together. Okay. 58. Will I have to drive out to Clucks to get home?
No, I wrote in the contract that they're gonna have to do it under traffic flagging. We talked about this at Public Works.
Okay.
So from Fuller to Mesker, basically, they could close that hard because people can access it other ways. The detour is gonna be marked.
That's good. Okay.
The detour is gonna be Fuller to, I think it's Janus over to Mesker.
Yep.
They've gotta install the detour, and it's the specific contract language said they have to work it under traffic with flag people.
Okay. It really wasn't my question, it was Jessica's, so she wanted me to ask it, but didn't want anybody to know it, so she didn't want to go out to Clucks.
The force is with you today.
Okay.
You can still
Thank
call
you.
me, you can call me if you wait too long.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I could tell I was getting under your skin a little bit.
No.
Oh, yeah, and that's okay, you can say them words to me, that's fine. 58, Ross Avenue, Mesker to EC River, Eau Claire, Mill and Pave Project. What's your pleasure?
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Zagami.
Second.
Second by Feeny. On the question. I asked a question. We'll be able to get home safely with 15 minutes to spare.
You can leave early.
Oh, thank you. That's fine.
Well, they answered the question.
Hearing no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. What kind of ETA on this? The last one was 4 weeks and I think it went 12. 4 to 5. Well, the bridge was supposed to be 4 to 5 and it went like 12.
They're not gonna park anything there that long. They've got too much work.
Okay, cool. And it is American Asphalt?
Yep.
Who did also the other portion, right?
Right, yeah, they had, somebody else pulverize it.
Yeah, they do a nice job. Okay, thank you. 58, 59, Northwestern Avenue Design Contract.
Move to approve the contract with EMCS and Clark Dietz not to exceed $48,850 in the reconditioning of Northwestern Ave.
Motion by Feeny,
Second,
second by White.
quick question.
Question.
I noticed that there is a potential that we'll receive an 80-20 grant. What is the likelihood of actually receiving? Because potential isn't really a measurement for me here, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't have an answer for you. This, Michael's been working on that as far as the grant portion of it. That's where that's coming from. I believe he's looking for it. That's why he's asking to have this design done as far as getting the grant dollars. It's something that we can get into the system faster. That's why they're going after the money, and that's.
Oh, this is that shovel-ready one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
We talked about this at.
Yep, okay.
So the state has been emailing, trying to get people to give projects that are eligible for them to give funds out. This is the first year, very short time period. This is for the bill money. This is the first round. And they're trying to get people, because they're fearing that if they don't get enough people to take it and with qualified projects, they gotta give it back. That's
Well,
what we got from the last webinar.
Michael's been talking to DOT about this, so that's where.
I think
it's-
there's a pretty good chance.
that might be elevated above potential. So, any more? Yes, questions?
How come we don't use our contract?
So this is a description of the scope of services for both companies and you could just make it contingent on this being incorporated in our form of agreement.
Yes. Mr. Nate?
For that, we need an amendment to the motion.
Or you could withdraw your motion and then remake it a motion.
Well, for that, I'd need Lauren to undo his.
Or you can accept a friendly amendment.
Okay, do I have time to go to the bathroom? No?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
All right,
I'm
I'll
sorry.
accept it as a friendly amendment.
Okay,
Okay.
so where are we?
I move we use our own contract for these two projects, for these two consultants for this project, Northwestern project.
Okay. Guide me.
That was a friendly amendment.
Yeah, that was a
so-
friendly,
so
that was a
we're good.
friendly amendment, so now, because I accepted it, Lauren, are you still okay with this as a second? Okay, so now we can just vote on it.
Hearing no more discussion, all those that say aye?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 60, agreement with Becker Hoppy for negotiating and documenting village property acquisition under Wisconsin eminent domain process for Apache Lane utility project. Oh,
I have a question before we just.
before a motion?
Before a motion.
Is that legal?
Yes, you can.
Okay, just wanted to just ask.
So is this property where the Trotzer Oka River utility project is going on, that piece of that parking lot?
It's both that and there's a property on Trotzer Lane for a private owner.
Got that. The one that's going to have a station or what? Okay,
Yes, that's where all the lift stations will be constructed.
okay, thank you. Thanks for answering the question. I'll move to approve the agreement with Becker Hop for the negotiation and documenting village property acquisition under Wisconsin eminent domain process for Apache Lane utility project for a lump sum fee of $6,400.
Motion by White. Second. Second by Feeny. Any more in discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 61 is done. 62, we're working on that? It's in black.
Well, actually, Hushain asked me to put this on.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, actually, we talked about it last meeting, I asked if it's okay.
Yep.
So, I think in order to improve our customer service in here, we need somebody can speak the language. And it helps if we have hire somebody there part-time or however we can help out. When the people come in here and they can speak English, so that individual can help them.
That's what we were saying before. I mean, getting help from ye or somebody else that knows the language. It's just a Band-Aid. And so.
I guess the question I have is, I know we don't do much with the municipal court here, but how do we deal with any if anyone showed up for a court, how do we deal with that specifically?
Well, I don't believe the judge has been there for 2 years. I know her assistant is there doing stuff. I don't believe Wyrock has been there, Judge Wyrock has been there for 2 years. I don't believe she's been there since COVID started.
Now, here's another,
I think it's mail order and emails and texts and county.
Zoom or what?
Zoom or FaceTime.
Or Zoom or FaceTime, right?
So another question I have is when we do our,
She was there for the budget hearing, that's right.
so whenever we do our, a public hearing, of sort that could potentially have impact on Southeast Asian community members as well too, do we have any translator or interpreter as well? I mean, the city of Wausau does it, so I'm just kind of curious.
So I was on, I think it was like Thursday or Friday, was trying to work on some signage out here for the absentee ballots. And while I was in Word, I was able to like highlight the whole text.
Yeah.
And you can say to translate it.
I can guarantee you it's not accurate.
Are you saying there's different?
If you take it and you translate it, there are some words that it takes more words in the Hmong language to describe it than it really is. And there are some words in the English language that has different meanings in the Hmong language. So I can guarantee you, if you give me that right now, I can translate it for you and it will be completely different than what you're saying.
So you tried it in?
It's not even close.
So you
I've tried.
tried it in Word and you, okay.
Yeah, I will also share this, I've reviewed the county's documents and their equal opportunity level one that they've been using for 30 years. The term sex in there they were using, when it was translated over, they were using the action, not the gender. So, and that was there for 30 years. So when this whole pandemic hit and I started reading a lot of the translation, it is not accurate.
Well, how do you translate tone?
Tone is different.
I know, but how do you do it? You actually have to have someone there physically to translate the tone.
No, it's the ending of the word.
Yeah, it's up and down.
It is. So if you,
Is there software in it you can purchase?
that's a good question. I don't know.
Yes, Babel.
Yeah, so.
Babbel. Yep.
There's also dialects that are involved in.
But I don't know if it's correct.
So, and even more common languages like Spanish or German, totally not accurate. I remember the first time that I tried to say something in Hmong to one of the elders, you just gave me a very long look and said, if you say that, someone's going to have a lot of problems with me.
Well, just something early on, 30 years ago, I mean, I was involved in some meetings as a grocer, just to help. And we had several employees, and I just remember educating that let me just, correct me if I'm wrong. Ye is male and ye is female.
It depends on what the name is for. So for example.
Male, female.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. There's no gender difference in there as well. So for example, let me use,
Other than pumpkin.
I would use this example, for example, tia and tia, there are two different words, Tia means it's like, tia means it's flat. Tia means it's a different generation, so it's just a different tone in the end, there's no gender difference, but if you use the incorrect tone letter at the end here, that word could be very offensive as well too, potentially, so.
Well, I got half right then. Okay. I knew tone was something. All right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is there's different certification for being a translator. But is that what, I mean, and right now, I don't think we're gonna be able to find anybody except to have somebody who's knowledgeable that like you, that doesn't have the certification and I don't know if that's the right terminology or not, but my understanding was to be an official translator, you had to have certain certifications.
But it is, but from my recollection as well, too, working with SWITS, the Southern Wisconsin Interpreting and Translating Services.
Right.
They do, what they do is you're either certified, or licensed, or you're born speaker of it, so they do those two. In Marathon County here, we're the only county that actually actually required licensed individuals to interpret or translate during court. Everybody else, in the state here, they began to open it up to other individuals. I mean, what I was just thinking, potentially in the future is just trying to inquire some sort of one of the services, whether it's with SWITS or something, and being able to have that opportunity available, as well too, and start looking into that as well.
I mean, so let's say we have no openings, so we can't hire several individuals. But why couldn't we certify 2 or 4, Hmong, to be poll workers? Why wouldn't that be? I mean, because none of them are full-time. They're all here for that, correct?
So.
So why
Right.
wouldn't that be the actual fix until we could do something else? But at least, because right now you're not certified, but yet we're calling you. And I don't know who else we're
So
calling.
you and I,
Yeah.
we worked back and forth
Right,
this
right.
past week or two, and I contacted the state.
Okay.
And because we have to use our party lists,
Mhm.
and unfortunately,
Oh,
we
yeah.
didn't know about this, or we
Wow.
weren't thinking about this, because those party lists were due to me in the end of November. So I do not have any Hmong people interested.
Okay, so that's
And
for
I
a poll
probably
worker.
have
Yeah.
25, 30 people on there, so we have plenty of people right now that we have to contact first. We have to exhaust that list. And then once we've exhausted that list, then we can move on
So,
to some other
okay,
people.
I got one more Band-Aid.
Okay,
So why can't, we have one polling place.
but maybe let me finish though, because then they'll maybe answer your question. So I contacted the state, what can we do? Are there any options? And he said yes. He said, because state statutes say who can be at the polling place and who can do what at the polling place. We can have greeters there with no party affiliation. We can have one greeter at a polling location. So I thought, that was his suggestion. Appoint them as a greeter. They can welcome people into the polling place, and we can offer their service to help them fill out a ballot. And then what they would do is they help that person with their ballot, and then they would just have to mark the back of the ballot that they assisted the voter.
Right.
And the chief inspector just needs to note it.
Like you have done, correct? Okay, so one greeter.
One greeter per polling place.
Okay, so.
And so I put together a job posting.
Yep.
Which I believe, I don't know if we've put it out anywhere. I've sent one to him. I sent one to the school district. I don't remember the gal's name, maybe
Gloria.
Gail or,
I thought it was Gloria for some reason.
I don't remember, but it was the assistant, Casey Nye's assistant,
Mhm.
well, whatever her name is. And she sent my posting out to their staff, to whoever I don't know who they work with. I didn't connect with her and find out if it was a service, but she referred to them as staff. So I was assuming it's somebody it's employees. I'm not sure. So anyway, she was gonna send that posting out. And what I did was I offered 3 different shifts for the day and put on there that, you could choose to work more than one shift. I have not heard
What
from
is it again,
anybody.
8 to 4:30? Oh,
No,
no, voting is 8 to 8.
So 7 AM to 8 PM at the polling
So
location.
it's 13
So
hours.
I didn't think I'd have enough time here to get anything in place for absentee voting. But I thought, okay, well, let's just get a start on this and maybe we can get somebody at Dale's Weston Lanes that day. And, maybe they work one shift, maybe they work two shifts, maybe I have one person only wants one shift. Whatever I can get, we'll put it out on social media and see what happens with it.
I'm just thinking, since he's been called and maybe others, we have a greeter. Why couldn't we have a refreshment coordinator? Why couldn't we have a direction superintendent?
You got
You
to
know-
contact state legislators
Seriously,
and,
Yeah.
yep, because
I
this
give,
is in the
I
state
give up,
statutes.
I give up,
I know,
I give up.
and I'm just trying to follow the law.
I know. I mean, it's just common sense. I mean, why, for one day, couldn't we pay $15 an hour? And
This is-
it just flies in the face. Boy, private business, we'd be done already. We'd be home, be eating meatballs.
The elections are, to say rigorous is a gross understatement.
like,
Rigorous isn't accurate at all.
if you don't, like, only explicitly define people in law can be at the point.
What would you recommend?
So we can't call you, and we shouldn't have been.
Well, yeah, well, they do. I did that because many of those people, they know me, they call me, so I came out here, but I also did as as a assistant. I would say a good start would be what Sherry is doing, I'm not saying it's gonna be a perfect solution, but I definitely think it's I think to borrow Mark's words, it's a Band-Aid, especially with election so close here, it's harder for us to really make any big.
Oh my gosh, it's customer service. Our intent is nothing but good,
Well, that points
Trying to help.
Is about other people that speak different foreign languages.
I know.
We have Afghan refugees here now, and
Well, we got some Spanish too, yeah.
I'm wondering if I should, I'm
You know,
wondering,
why don't you ask?
I'm wondering if I
Well,
should also put that posting out on social media.
Yes.
I would say.
Yes.
Sherry,
Also,
could somebody contact, Abilene out there?
Mhm.
I don't know what county that is or how where they're voting,
Okay,
but we should definitely find out how they're handling
who is
the
it?
labor. Where Abilene meets is,
Okay,
80% of their workforce is Spanish. The gentleman that owns Abilene has built a diner, a complete rec center, and now he's got 3 humongous buildings up with multi-housing. And it's unbelievable what he's done there.
okay.
Yeah, and they must have something to do with the voting out there. Am I thinking Clark County, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, Clark, okay, yep, that's it. We got several
Well,
stores.
and I think right now, we start out with the Hmong community because I
Yeah, oh, definitely.
I think you see more presence right now in the at the polling location versus, I don't know if we see a lot of Spanish people come in, they could, but, it's.
What is, I seem to remember, Dr. Gilmore talking about, there's 15 or 17 different languages that they have to deal with, Chinese and Mandarin and all these other things. What do they do?
Yeah.
I mean, do they have?
Well, they only have, from my recollection, they have, they work with a interpreting company to provide translation, but then the ones that they focus mostly on is the Hmong. I think they do a little bit of Spanish as well too, but they do those because those two are the largest population.
percentages.
Correct.
All right, one more
hang
idea.
on.
No, politics, all right? Let's stay out of the politics. Let's stay out of legal, like you're talking about. Can't Dale's let us have a spot that's not political, it's not where that is, but it's visible? And couldn't we have a charity drive and have the egg rolls available from 7 to 8 at night?
If you're trying to say that you want egg rolls, I'll bring you egg rolls next time.
Oh, I know where to get egg rolls. I get them right at Schofield Mart. But I'm just saying.
Where's it located?
But, are you kidding me? Kitty corner from Quick Trip. Oh my God. There's none left when I go there. I can't leave one there. But I know, just thinking, they serve food there. What's the difference? Oh, they happen to be there. Oh, they can
I
help.
prefer not to dance around the
Yeah,
rules of law.
oh, see, that's my difference. I wanna.
We have the translator, and he's around and help everybody out. And I think what Sherry is doing is just
Yep.
in the right
No,
direction.
you're on the right direction. Yeah.
But we should think about, after the election is over, what else we can do for the rest remaining of the year, because these people come here to pay their bills or they have a question for their tax or for their water bill or whatever, and nobody can talk to them or
Do you hear a lot of the hardship?
I do,
Okay. Because you can't pay your bills here anymore, can you? Or can you? You can? Okay.
I do, what's happening is that they're kind of they're just kind of making do, they're just going with it, because it's harder for them. I mean, the best scenario would be them bringing a family member.
I would say
That's what they did at the hospital a lot, when patients would come, they would bring a
Correct.
family member with
But
them.
during the whole pandemic that I was, obviously be very involved with the Hmong community, we saw that that's actually getting less and less, and we're actually seeing that the needs actually getting more, because a lot of the younger folks are actually leaving town to go out
Right.
to school. So oftentimes it's the elders that are just here who lives like yourself, and they don't have that support structure.
So Sherry, I think that we have one opening for deputy clerk. I'm asking with, I think it was Heather.
Right.
So could we in the new, or in the job posting, put a preferred, or a preferred, qualification to be like fluent and Hmong or Spanish or something like that?
I don't,
I think we could add that.
we're not adding that position back.
We haven't
yet.
decided what
We
we're
haven't
doing.
decided,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
That was part of what I wanted to talk about.
Got it.
Yeah,
Well, I would say though that that would be very innovative, I don't think any of the, well, even Wausau's not doing that, where they're having something where in their job descriptions putting as a preferred. That mean, obviously, don't get me wrong, I would never advocate for hiring just Hmong individuals. I would actually want them to be all the best qualified, but having a preference also,
But that's how you can say it.
Yeah, correct. It would attract individuals to, feel more confident to apply for it as well too. Just a thought.
So another place that I noticed that they have a lot of Hmong people working is like the banks,
Banks.
Inner City State Bank. I mean, how are they, is it just the interest that the Hmong community, they're just interested in working in that field, or is it?
Well, we did it when I was at Ford
Okay.
and also M&I. You end up doing things with the high school.
Yep.
You recruit in the high school
Okay,
so that they have a summer job, they have a weekend job, and then that turns into somebody that, okay, is going to go to school part-time, and then they're gonna work part-time to turn into, that's how we did it. And that's how we had the Spanish, speaking people
okay,
in Colby and, Greenwood also had a high population base. So, it's something that gets started when they're in high school.
okay,
We met with, at the time, some churches, and we met with some groups, and I just remember going to Wausau for the grocery stores. And I was very successful. I had probably 8 individuals for overnight third shift. But I was very successful when we got them in groups, not one.
But it could.
Because then they could talk, and in fact, there's a gentleman, I believe that still works at the Wausau Bridge Street Pick and Save, that is still there. And, yeah.
I suspect though that if Sean hires summer help for, whether it's the pool or whether it's for, parks, working on the equipment, I think if there's a way of targeting the younger kids to get them to want to be part of the community, you might be able to take a step in that direction. Long term, that might be to find a good, solid employee in a couple of years. That's what I would recommend. I worked at the bank.
they're probably using the same search engines for jobs as anyone else, I would assume.
Some of them are, but it doesn't, let me just say here, it doesn't also hurt utilizing the Hmong string, or even the Hmong media outlet as well too. Just if something as simple as sharing it with me as well. Yeah, I can definitely share with groups and be able to share it as well too. Steve Trustee might not hit it right on the spot. If there's multiple of them together, they would feel more comfortable being able to work in a place there, and they'll just stay there longer, and they'll bring in additional individuals because they want to be comfortable. And I hate to say it, but this may be very direct, so I apologize, but we're an employer of all white individuals, and that sometimes intimidates some individuals. But if there's a couple of them, it makes them feel more eager to want to be there.
That's how we were able to do it. Yeah.
Sherry, are special voting deputies allowed to be at the polling place on election day?
So we actually, the special voting deputies are used, you would normally use them in, like, we use them at the nursing homes.
Right.
Or if you'd have some sort of voter registration event or something like that. But, well, here's the other thing. I believe if you have people doing just voter registration, there's no party affiliation, but I need to double check that. The problem we have there right now is the Badger books.
Of course.
They do because when we have somebody registered to vote right now, we don't want to make them go to another line to get their ballot. So when they register, they're able to work with that same person and get their voter number to go get their ballot and not have to go to another line. And that, it used to be that way where they'd have two separate lines, and we've eliminated those two lines, so now that person I have doing voter registration is also managing or overseeing the poll book too and issuing the voter number. So I don't think that would work, unfortunately, just because we have the Badger books now.
My only thought was, if they weren't prohibited to be there, maybe we could find a couple before election day and maybe they could assist with the translation.
I remember getting school.
Well, like I said, we're working,
Right.
we can have a greeter,
That idea.
so we can have a greeter.
I got school.
I think another thing is having our leadership also, not you specifically, Mark, because you show up to quite a bit of long events as well too, but having our leadership also attend some of the networking events with the Hmong community as well too. I mean, the Central Wisconsin Hmong Professional Group is a great group that I would definitely love to connect you guys with as well. They're basically a group of Hmong professionals who are basically the movers and shakers of the Hmong community. And having them be involved some way, and I believe they're actually putting together a CEO event where they're actually trying to invite all the CEOs and heads of the local governments as well too to come in and meet with some of the Hmong professionals. I would love to connect you guys with them.
What's it called again?
CWHP, which is Central Wisconsin Hmong Professionals. That's what they stand for. So I would love to connect you guys with them as well too. So that would be another opportunity, and they definitely would be able to help get out the job opportunities to other individuals as well. So they're heavily involved.
Is the greeter gonna be a Weston resident?
Marathon County resident.
That's good.
Well, I guess if that's what you got to me right now, that's what you deal with, and when you got more time, you can research this a little bit more. I think we've killed the subject.
Okay, well, we're definitely in the right direction. Attorney referrals?
Did you do 61?
Yeah, we did.
Yep.
We did that early.
We moved it ahead
Oh,
for
that's
Joshua
right,
Khan.
that's right.
Yep. So, attorney referrals, I don't believe we have any, right? Anybody on the board? And we're gonna move to closed session.
Mr. President, I move that we move to closed session under state statute 1985, parent 1, parent C, and parent 1, parent E.
Oh, okay.
Parent C for the consideration of employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, and under parent 1, parent E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified business, whether competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session.
You enjoyed that too much.
Oh, yeah. I appreciated it, Nate.
Yeah, I know Lauren does, that's true. Okay, so, motion by Feeny, second by Zagami. Anything more to add? Roll call. Roll call vote.
Maloney,
Aye.
Ermeling,
Aye.
Feeny,
Aye.
Minell,
Aye.
White,
Aye.
Zhang,
Aye.
Zagami.
We are now in closed session.
Can we take a